Hi guys. I hope you enjoy listening to these stories. Don't forget to leave a comment, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Chapter 201 The True Self. Is Po V. I've been afraid for a long time. I had lied to Senpai without realizing it. I had lied to him about my real name, which was the most important information. Also, even though I should have been assured that everything would be absolutely fine, I'm still afraid to talk about my mother. Even my father, who was supposed to be my immediate family, had abandoned me. I was helplessly afraid that my senpai would end up like him. After my mother died, I rarely saw my father. My father's secretary told me to go to high school and use my mother's maiden name to avoid being bullied. He only told me such an important thing through other people. You are an unwanted child. I felt a sense of despair as if I had been told this. A feeling of loss that warm place was gone. I told my father's secretary I understand and went from a private junior high school in Tokyo to a public school in Chiba Prefecture and started living alone. A change of environment could bring about a change of heart. Besides, this is the place where my father and mother were born and raised. There might be some salvation for me. I had such a faint hope, but there was no salvation here either. In the end, everyone pampered me just because of my looks and my family background. There's no way I'll get along with people like that. So, I ended up being bullied and distrustful of people. I'm becoming more and more wary of strangers, and being talked to by total strangers only adds to the pain. The content of the lessons in school was just a repetition of what I had already learned in junior high school. The only enjoyment I had was time alone after I went home, reading or watching movies, just waiting for the time to pass. When I met Amada-san, I saw her as a zombie in a movie. Maybe I looked like that before I met my senpai. Loneliness deepens during summer vacation. When my mother was alive, summer vacations were filled with happy memories of family trips. But now I stayed home alone. I thought my dad would contact me. I kept my phone close to me, but it never rang. I had waited for it for a long, long time. As the summer vacation progressed, my heart grew colder. Many times I woke up and cried without realizing it. I realized that I had reached my limit. Then I heard about Eiji Aono. It seemed that the rumor that he had violently attacked the woman he was dating was spreading all by itself. But it was only a rumor. Even the photo that was supposed to be proof was nothing more than a bruise on the arm of a woman we didn't know. It was the kind of photo that could be found all over the internet. People are full of malice after all. When I came to this conclusion, I wanted to end it all. Then I went to the rooftop of the school. The lock was broken, and with a little manipulation, it would open. I used to use it when I wanted to be alone, so it opened easily. Finally, I could see my mother. At the end of the journey of despair I thought I was on, I found hope. After I told him everything, tears streamed from his eyes. Senpai? Why are you crying? I knew the reason, but I asked. To confirm his kindness. Do you think there's anyone who wouldn't be angry to find out that someone they care about has been treated like that by a stranger? Those are the words I've always wanted to hear. Words that would be there for me. You are kind, really. That's why I want to apologize. I lied to you for a long time. I'm not Ikijo Iari. Ikijo is my mother's maiden name. I will tell you another secret. Don't worry, it won't change who I love. He assures me so emphatically that I find myself irresistibly in love with him. I'm so happy to have met him. On that rooftop, I'm so grateful for the miracle that has happened that it brings tears to my eyes. To stop the tears that would not stop, I borrowed his shoulder. How many times have I done this today? I don't think I have lived such a praiseworthy life. But I'm proud of the fact that I was able to save Ikijo Ari on that rooftop that day. This isn't fair anymore. I wonder how you know the words I want you to say. I'm also glad to have met you. I've always wanted to meet someone I could tell everything to. Hey, Eiji-senpai? Can I say one more selfish thing? Yes, if possible. Can you call me by my name from now on? Please call me Ari. He nodded. Then, looking directly at me with tears in his eyes, he granted my wish in a sincere voice. Please stay in contact with me, Ari. I wish that time would just stand still. As I wished, I hugged him tightly. I will introduce Eiji-senpai to my mother who protected me. Mom, I finally found someone important to me. To convey that. Chapter 202 The Boundary Between Happiness and Unhappiness. Ages Po V. Ikijo-san must have felt relieved when we got back to the car because she held my hand and fell asleep as if at peace. No wonder. She worked too hard. Thank you, Aono-sama. The driver, Kurawa-san suddenly opens his mouth. At school, Ikijo Ari is called an angel or an idol. She is fragile, beautiful, and graceful. But with such a frail body, she was carrying something so heavy, a normal person would be exhausted. Her small hands were warm. This is all thanks to you. Oju-sama has become brighter since the day she met you. Until then, I think she had tried her best and continued to play the role of the ideal girl, Ikijo Ari. Little by little, she became more natural. Oju-sama returned to her old self before her mother died. As a servant, I probably don't deserve to say this, but thank you, it made me happy. Oju-sama can finally return to a happy world. Thanks to you. Kurawa-san was usually quiet and never said much. When he came to pick up Ikijo-san, he just said a quick hello. But I think he really cared about her. Thank you. But it wouldn't have been possible without the support of Kurawa-san and the others. Ikijo, Ari-san's late mother too. Thanks to everyone, Ari-san was able to care for others again. Ari-san was able to make it this far because everyone supported her. I think it was because Ari-san was such a kind girl that she helped me when I was at my lowest point. Sorry, I'm just a high school student who might be a little childish. That is not true. We were unable to fulfill our duties as adults. We cannot treat Aono-sama, who was able to do so, as a child. Please continue to take care of Oju-sama. Then he falls silent again. From the beginning, Ikijo-san's hand was always straining. Her eyes were closed, but there were faint tears in them. I could hear it. But it was rude to point it out. Instead, I held her hand tighter. Don't let her hands get cold. Ari's Povi. I couldn't help but listen to the conversation between Senpai and Kurawa while I was dozing off. I might have made a mistake. I heard something I shouldn't have. Kurawa wanted to tell Senpai because he thought I was sleeping. What I hear is definitely something different. So I desperately close my eyes. What I hear from both of them are words of concern for me. Kurawa also supported me in my brokenness. I thought I understood. I have nothing but gratitude for those who supported me. But what if I had made a mistake that day on the rooftop? I probably would have caused irreparable damage to Kurawa as well. I think I am an idiot. Thank you, Senpai, for finding me that day. I hold his hand. He squeezes my hand as if he understands. It's not fair, really. But maybe this is what happiness is all about. Slowly, I feel the warmth of his hand. Next to my senpai who understood everything, I fell into a deep sleep for the first time in several years. Miyuki's Povi. Even if I did nothing, I was still hungry. There was nothing left in the fridge. With heavy feet, I walked to the supermarket outside the station to buy onigiri and bread, which would give me the bare minimum of nourishment. Why am I still alive? I thought as I walked slowly like a zombie. A little further down the street, a black luxury car stopped. A familiar man got out. Eiji. He smiles happily as if I were seeing an illusion. After all, Ikijo Ari is with him. I can't stop trembling. Why am I not beside Eiji? Why can't he smile at me? They were happily holding hands. I'm not even allowed to call them. I was shown such a holy place. It's not right. My betrayal was worse. Eiji is walking happily with his new girlfriend. He leads a happy life. It's not that I was betrayed. But this feeling of despair and loss makes my body tremble. My other self calmly gives me the final blow. Because you broke up with Eiji, the two of them could be happy. I'm glad that Eiji didn't fall in love with you anymore, the one who cheated on him and even blamed him. Everyone could be happy because you broke up with Eiji. Why are you so desperate? Compared to what you did, they just tried to move on and be happy. How can you have the right to blame them for that? I left the scene like I was running away. Chapter 203 Interrogate the Manager. A policeman's Povi. I enter the interrogation room. There, I find an honor student who looks so dignified that it's hard to believe she could be the mastermind of a heinous crime. I see. This appearance must have helped her hide her bad deeds until now. I had already read all the preliminary investigation materials. She manipulated Counselor Kondo's son to bully her junior. She used a special SNS to exchange messages and worked behind the scenes to leave no evidence, but failed. When she got scared when everything was about to be revealed, she manipulated the soccer club members and planned to attack the female student who had the information. If she never did this, she would be a beauty who could overthrow a country. It has been almost 30 years since I became a policeman. So far, she is the most cunning high school student. She's terrifying. I wonder if she couldn't use her wisdom somewhere else. I couldn't help but sigh. She was annoyed at me for sighing as soon as I entered. It seems she hasn't completely given up yet. This is going to be a long day. Nice to meet you, Tochibana-san. I'm Furuta, who will be in charge of the interrogation today. I heard it from someone else. You keep saying you had nothing to do with it. Can you tell me more about it? I speak softly in a low voice. Let the place warm up first so we can talk. I have said this many times. It was just a joke. But Kondo-kun took it seriously. I don't even know much about the violence committed by the soccer club members. I think it was planned by a junior member out of some kind of panic. Do you have any conclusive evidence? She is talking very high-handedly while pretending to be a trembling little animal. This must be her true nature. Someone violent who gets pleasure from manipulating people. Her family consists of an educated mother and a workaholic father. A typical elite family. There seems to be some sense of elitism here. I see. Let me ask you something. Why did you use such a not popular, foreign SNS to communicate with Kondo-kun? It's best to have an in-depth discussion with someone like this. Well, that's because I had a little relationship with Kondo-kun once, let's just say we used to date. That's why that app, which can easily erase traces of embarrassing exchanges and such, was convenient for me. I see. That's a good excuse. I see. Then what about the theft of Aono Eiji's personal belongings and the manuscript of his novel? Your junior said you told her to do it. Her behavior was as expected. It was like a fake reaction. No, sir. Everyone is just trying to blame me. That's exactly what I'm saying. There's no evidence that I told them to do it, but we have many testimonies here. Most of the members of the club said that you told them to get rid of Aono-kun's manuscripts and personal things. A bunch of solid testimonies is the closest thing to hard evidence, you know. That's, no matter how smart you act, you're still a high school student. And I found out something interesting. On the day Aono Eiji was beaten, it seems that you were also near the crime scene. You were caught on the surveillance camera. What a coincidence. It's as if you knew something before. It can't be a coincidence, I said casually, and it made me smile. But what about Ikanobu-san? It was Matsuda-san and the soccer club. She got caught. She seems to be a little shaken. Ah yes, that's definitely true. Matsuda-san was in cahoots with the soccer club? That's for sure. But she also said that she received verbal orders from you. This statement alone may not be conclusive evidence that you were involved in the attack. But the other members of the club also looked anxious when I mentioned your name. Let's pull her this way. That's... Oh yeah, it's just that Matsuda-san didn't want to be the mastermind, so she set me up. I grinned. Confident of victory, I confronted her with the facts. But you know, Tochibana-san. I've been wondering. How did you know Matsuda-san was involved in the attack? I asked the teachers, but you said you mentioned Matsuda-san's name from the beginning. When confronted with her own mistake, her complexion turns pale. That is on the news. She continues to dig her own grave. She's a minor, so her name isn't on the news. Well, then on SNS, a friend from school told me a rumor. When did you see this? No matter how I look at it, it seems like you knew all this before the rumors started. She was speechless and started mumbling to herself while looking at the ground. You've lost. Tochibana-san. It's true, you're smart. But, you know, our world is not so sweet that you can make excuses after the fact. Don't underestimate adults, okay? Chapter 20 for a schemer who drowns in her own schemes. Manager Tochibana's Po V. What's wrong with this old man? I'm being cornered? Don't underestimate adults. I won't accept this. I have to get through this. Well, let me hear it again. Tochibana-san. You were the one who planned the bullying and the attack. You're the other mastermind, along with Kondo-kun. Am I wrong? That hoarse voice is driving me into a corner, step by step. No, absolutely not. I deny it so desperately and emotionally. Okay, why don't you tell me why not? After all, you were at the scene of Aono Eiji's beating. That was really just a coincidence. I just wanted to see what was going on because there was some kind of commotion nearby, and I was curious like any other bystander. You just wanted to see her? But you also took pictures, didn't you? You found out that a junior in your club and a classmate were fighting, but you walked away without asking either of them what was going on. That's weird. I just didn't want to get involved in anything uncomfortable. I just took the picture without thinking about it. I know this is a last-minute excuse. Ho, you said you ran away because it was uncomfortable. But you took the picture. I think you are contradicting yourself. It was a spontaneous act. People are full of contradictions, aren't they? Well, that's true, I guess. Saying this, the old detective bursts out laughing. But my heart was still pounding. This man is too dangerous. But you know, Tochibana-san. You made a mistake. It was a fatal mistake. Do you know what that is? This is a bluff. It's just a bluff. There is no way I made a mistake. I see, you don't know. We're the police. Do you think you hid it well? But the truth is, the same photo that was on your phone when Aono-kun was beaten up was posted on SNS. The original SNS account was deleted. After making inquiries and gathering information from other people's accounts, I found out that the original account had tweeted the following. He deliberately pauses to wait for my reaction. Breaking news, the picture right after Aono Eiji, who DV'd his girlfriend, was beaten to a pulp. This is strange, isn't it? Why did you post something that seemed to believe 100% of what Kondo-kun said when you just watched the scene where it was clear that Aono-kun was just beaten? It's weird, isn't it, like you knew it all along. I don't even know that account in the first place. Yes, of course, we thought you would say that. So we looked into it. We checked the IP address when the post was made and the location when that account logged in, and you know what we got. It turns out it was at your house. And no matter how much you destroy your account, the company will keep a record of it. Of course, the company is cooperating with the police. This is just the latest information we've gotten, and I'm sure they'll restore everything soon. I was so pale that I realized I was completely backed into a corner. Oh, and one more thing. I heard that the place where Matsuda-san talked to the soccer club member was the park in front of the station. To be sure, we also checked the nearby security cameras and interviewed people who work there. We think the Tochibana-san we have in mind would probably do that. Besides, there is no way that a high school student would suddenly do such a thing. This series of events is connected. It's reasonable to think so. It's frightening how well he analyzes it. Well, that's enough for today. But, Tochibana-san, considering what you have said and done, your character, and the crimes you have been involved in, you will not be forgiven easily. And if left unchecked, you are expected to become even more evil. If you settle for a lenient punishment, it will leave a legacy of trouble in the future. At the very least, I cannot tolerate it. I will expose everything you are trying to hide. I am persistent. With that, the devilish old detective left with a no-mask smile. How did it come to this? I feel myself being spiritually destroyed. I wonder how many more times I have to go through this harsh interrogation. Hell had begun. Chapter 205 Excuses. Manager Tochibana's POV. I'm desperately thinking of excuses. I'm in a cold detention cell under constant surveillance now. I feel like I'm going crazy. But I can't just run away. Because if I don't get away with it, I'm doomed. I have to do something. I need an excuse to shut that smart old detective up. I gotta do it. I gotta do something. When the guard told me to be quiet, all I could do was nod, moving slowly like a zombie. Hey, Tochibana-san. Did you sleep well last night? Or did you not sleep because you were thinking of excuses, the kind of grin that gets on my nerves? I always feel like I'm about to be swept away by his flow. You treat people like criminals. Have you ever heard of innocence until proven guilty? Yes, I know. I'm a civil servant, even though I look like this. I passed the law exams. No. Don't get carried away. I tell myself to stay calm. Then treat me that way. Yes, I try to be as objective and rational as possible in my investigation. But all logic leads me to the conclusion that you are lying. Isn't that just your subjective error? Maybe you're right. Shall we continue? The fight begins again. Then I'll ask you. The attack on Ikanobu Eiji. It was you who instigated the soccer club and Matsuda-san to attack her, wasn't it, Tochibana-san? Wrong. That was just Matsuda-san's lie. I had nothing to do with it, I see. But, you know, we finished the investigation of the surveillance camera I told you about yesterday. The surveillance cameras around the park where Matsuda-san and the soccer team members met secretly recorded images of a girl who looks like you. Here's the footage. I knew this would happen. But I had read that it would happen like this. No, I don't remember that. First of all, the outfit is an ordinary one you can buy in any department store. Even the face is not clear. It was just a false accusation. To protect myself, I wore ordinary clothes I bought at a nearby supermarket. And a mask. So even though they look alike, that doesn't prove it. Yes, it's true. Ah, high school students are really amazing after all. Don't tell me he fooled me again. My expression tightened involuntarily. What's so amazing about it? I mean, even from a distance, you can tell that this outfit is just something you can buy at a department store. Well, I guess an old man would never be able to tell. As expected from a young person, or maybe it was you the person who actually wore it. I just happened to think so because I saw something similar on sale at a nearby supermarket. Oh, another coincidence? That's a hell of a coincidence. Damn, damn, damn. He is nitpicking again. I don't know, because it's true. Yes, I know. But what I want to ask you is something else. Actually, it's your sneakers that we confiscated from your house. There was a small piece of a fallen leaf inside the shoe. It seems to be from a rare plant, a plant that only grows in that area, yes, in that field park, but you have no idea. Right, I'm in a cold sweat again. Well, that's because I live nearby and go to the park sometimes. That's right. But do you get leaves in your shoes just by walking on the track? I think it usually only happens when you hide in the bushes or something. But you are a high school student. I wonder if high school students hide in the bushes and play hide and seek these days. That's weird. I told you I have no idea. Don't be so angry. I do it for a living, too. Then let's change the question. You were deeply involved in Aono Eiji's bullying problem. Am I wrong? One after the other. Really? Wrong. First of all, I have no motive to bully Eiji-kun. Yes, a motive. If there is no motive, the credibility of the story is diminished. Ah, motive. Well, if the evidence is solid, it doesn't really matter. But of course, we look at that, too. It's so scary, my escape route is blocked. What do you mean? Do you want to hear it? If I tell you, it will block your escape route even more. The schemer in front of me grinned. Chapter 206 The Seriousness of the Adult. No way, he won't be able to see through me to my motives, right? Because it's my inner problem. Unless he's psychic, it's absolutely impossible. You'd just be imposing your delusions as facts. I say this coldly. Yes, that may be so. Now let's check it. At first glance, you seem to have no motive for bullying Aono Eiji, a cute junior member of your club. The other members of the club said the same thing. You and Aono-kun were close, like sister and brother. They said that you, the club manager, might also be affected by these rumors. You felt betrayed by Aono-kun, so you tried to get rid of him. Yes, if he continues like this, I will be in a much better position. I hope so. But I don't think so. It's like falling from heaven to hell. Why? First of all, in this case, your treatment of Aono Eiji is understandable if we consider it as revenge for being betrayed. But you are too obsessed with him. For a writer, a manuscript is probably the most important thing next to life. You dared to get rid of it. Like a magician explaining the tricks of a magic trick, the logic unfolds fluidly. Let's say, wasn't your eagerness to throw away Aono-kun's manuscript a kind of compensatory act? That's what I immediately thought. Then what was this act of compensation for? In such cases, it is either resentment or jealousy that drives people to madness. And you probably had both towards Aono Eiji. For example, you were jealous of his novel talent and resented him. I gasp. Why, how did he get to this point? Then a kind of logic emerges in your behavior. You are a brilliant and talented woman who has won numerous awards for your fiction and essays. You must have had great confidence in your writing, but you feel inferior to someone younger than you. It must have been excruciatingly painful for the younger you. Stop it, I don't need your shallow pity. That's why you were so obsessed with his manuscript, the symbol of Aono Eiji's talent. To the point where you wanted to throw it all away. You're just delusional. Yes, it is just a delusion. But, you see, I have another proof. Actually, miraculously, only one of Aono-kun's manuscripts survived. This is a copy of that manuscript. Of course, as the manager of the club, you have read this manuscript. It was the original manuscript that became the prototype for his online novel. The damn thing. Why? Well, I'm glad one of them is safe. Yeah. Good. But this is what pushed you over the edge. Actually, we have already identified your web novel account. You have posted several short stories in the past few days. Have you read them? Don't come to me with your feet in the dirt. Don't. Of course, I read them. I'm no expert, but Aono-kun's novels had a big influence on them. Even I, a layman, can understand that. What is interesting is that after Aono-kun posted his novel on the web, you wrote this one to follow it. It is as if you were competing with him. My mind is in a state of chaos. You shouldn't take adults seriously. We know you've been following Aono-kun for several days as if you're stalking him. You also went to the cafe where Aono-kun had a meeting with the editor. The GPS on your phone, the electronic payment history, and the testimony of the waitress. All of this is indirect evidence of your obsession with him. You were jealous of your junior's talent and tried to destroy him, only to be defeated. It all started with your jealousy. Am I right? I thought I could manipulate people to do what I wanted. But I realized that was just the shallow wisdom of a child. Even my novel. There is nothing left for me. Unspeakable screams and cries echoed through the interrogation room. I was ashamed and cried like a child. I tried to say something back, but I couldn't get my words out. I was forced to understand that I really was a child. Pathetic clown who had continued down the spiral staircase of humiliation and shame only to face her own demise. My heart began to break completely. It's over. Let's take a short break. The detective said so and left. Chapter 207 Ugaki. I'm on my way home after dropping Ikijo-san off. Too much has happened today. A movie date and a visit to Ari-san's mother's grave. Little by little, we are getting closer to each other. That made me happy, and I really appreciated the fact that she told me something she never wanted to say. And I know the depth of her despair. That alone makes my heart ache. Maybe even more despair than I experienced. The accidental death of her mother. The guilt over her mother's death to protect her. And the constant bullying that takes advantage of her mother's death. The separation from her father. Just thinking about it is enough to break my heart. She is truly amazing. Despite carrying so much weight, she never stopped trying. She took the entrance exam from a private junior high school in Tokyo to our high school and passed at the top of her class. Even after entering the school, she has continued to maintain her grades and is considered an all-around athlete. How much effort did she put into? She never stopped moving forward, no matter how hard things got. Because she worked too hard, she was in tatters that day on the rooftop. And yet, she tried so hard to help me. She reached out to me when I was in the depths of my own despair. She gave me more than I could ever give back, even if it took a lifetime. I will not let go of her hand. I will not let go. I sit on a park bench near my house. To calm my emotions. Then I do some research about the accident. I found some news articles on the internet. The accident that happened 2 years ago was even worse than I remembered. The death toll was much higher than I thought. And then the miraculous survival of a junior high school student. The names of the victims were written in the newspaper, and Ugaki Hitami's name was there. It depressed me to think that she had been bullied because of it. There were no names I recognized in the columns of the other victims. The cause of the accident was aging tunnels. Problems with infrastructure development are concentrated in the second half of the article. As I expected, after clearing my head, I walk home. It's getting late. It's time for the last orders at Kitchen Aono. I'm home. I open the door of the restaurant and greet the customers. Unusually, the only customers are the Izumi family, who are regulars. It's Eiji Oniichan. The Izumi family had been regular customers since my father's generation, and it seemed that they had brought their granddaughter with them. Mai-chan, long time no see. Is it your birthday today? Yes. I wanted to have Oko-sama, children's, lunch, so my grandfathers brought me here. It seems that the Izumi family came to our house with their family for a birthday party. Eiji-kun, you've grown up so much. I heard you got an award for helping people the other day. Abasan is happy for you, too. Yes. Thank you. They're such down-to-earth regulars, so I'm happy to meet them too. I used to come here when I was little, and the regulars took care of me like I was one of their children or grandchildren. Mom pokes her head out of the back and asks teasingly, "Welcome back, did you enjoy your date with Ari-chan?" "Yeah. It was fun. It was hot, so I got some water from a pitcher and sipped it. Then, Yokata. I was afraid you wouldn't come home today. Gah! I almost spit water out of my mouth. If Izumi-san and the others heard. I turned around, but it seemed like everyone was so engrossed in the cake that they didn't hear her. Just kidding. But you have to take good care of Ari-chan. She's such a good girl. It's rare to find a girl as good as her." "Yes, I know." Mom laughs happily when I say that. Then she turns to go back to the kitchen. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Mom looks back at me with a curious look on her face and laughs. Uncle Ugaki hasn't been coming to the restaurant lately, has he? Chapter 208 Mother and Ari. Mom laughs at my question as if she understands everything. With a soft, gentle smile. I see. Eiji's question means it's true after all. Mom smiles with slightly mixed emotions, her expression a little sad, like a mother thinking of her daughter. Mom, I'll tell you the details after work. Just wait a little. Yes. So, I went to my room, prepared the bath, and waited. A lot had happened today, so I dozed off a little. Eiji, I woke up to the sound of Mom's voice. I must have fallen asleep. Sorry, I was asleep. My body hurt a little because I was lying face down on the desk in the living room. You must be tired. Can we talk tomorrow? No, today is better. Mom nodded her head and sat down in front of me. Okay. Then, I'll get you some barley tea. With that, she poured barley tea from the refrigerator and brought me mine. Thank you. We both took a sip of the barley tea, and that was the signal to start talking. Did Mom know? I can't say I knew. I just thought maybe. Because Ari-chan looked a lot like Hitomi-san. I only met Ari-chan when she was a baby, so I couldn't be sure. Her surname wasn't Ugaki, so I could have mistaken her for someone else, or there could be some complicated circumstances. So I couldn't bring myself to ask for more details. I see. Mom is very respectful of her children's wishes. I think she treated Ari-san the same way she treated me. To answer Eiji's question earlier, Ugaki-san hasn't been here since your father's funeral. That was because he felt more responsible than Minami-san. That's right, my father and those three were very close. They would drink together after work, and they would volunteer together on the weekends. And then the accident. Yes, I even attended her funeral. Her daughter was in the hospital, so I didn't get to see her. Ugaki-san was busy being a mourner, so I hardly got to talk to him. I haven't seen him since that day. I heard from Minami-san that he was so engrossed in his work that he tried to forget something, losing his beloved wife and his best friend, my father, almost at the same time. Maybe something was broken in Uncle Ugaki. Mom, please don't tell Akijo-san what you heard from me today. Probably because I'm sure she would want to tell Mom properly herself. After all, she was really worried about lying. Yes, I understand. Ari-san is probably really worried. Given her personality, she would want to explain herself properly. Maybe I was too hasty in this case. With a hint of regret, I looked at Mom, and she smiled gently, perhaps sensing my feelings. You did your best, Eiji. Because of your closeness to Ari-chan, you opened the door to her heavy heart. You did your best. When Mom says that, my heart itches a little. No, I've always been helped by everyone. Yes. But, Eiji, when your heart is weak, just being with you is a lifesaver. Just like you and your Oni-chan did for me after your father died. Just having someone to spend time with. Yes, thank you. My body was light, probably because I had taken a nap. Let's write a little novel. With that in mind, I go to my room. Secretary General Ukaki's POV. I'm back in my hometown for the first time in a long time. I'm having a light whiskey drink in a bar I know. It is rare to find this malt in bourbon barrels instead of sherry barrels. When I say this, the usual bartender laughs. Yes, it's a limited edition for duty-free shops. We ordered it. It's sweet and creamy, and I can easily understand the quality of the original. When I just told him that, he laughed. Then, should I have the same? I heard a voice behind me. It was a familiar, nostalgic voice. Minami-san. Ah, it's been a while. Ugaki-kun. Chapter 209 At the bar. Minami-san sits next to me. Just like the old days. Immediately, a chaser, whiskey, and nuts were placed in front of the old man. Wow, it's really rare to find a bourbon barrel with this malt. But surprisingly, it's young. As you would expect from his whiskey master, he is able to guess most of the characteristics just from the aroma and one sip. The nose is strong with vanilla and wood, but there are also hints of citrus and floral notes. I think this floral feeling is what makes the original whiskey so good. As the master poured the whiskey, I looked at the bottle, and it was indeed marked 8 years old. Not too young or too old. But that can't be a coincidence. It's about this person. He must have come here to talk about something. This is rare. Didn't you volunteer today? Of course I did. Today I watched over elementary school children leaving school during the day. What are you doing so casually on this hot day? If you drink pure whiskey in such a tired state, it will affect your body. This man has always been like this. He has vitality and is a strong drinker. I don't care. There was nothing wrong with me in the medical examination. Really, I couldn't help but look to my right. It was a reserved seat. Even though I know that the person who was supposed to occupy it is no longer there, the answer that should have come back was no longer there. I knew Minami-san was watching me. He must have understood the meaning of my gestures. I see, he said briefly. He did not want to go into it, but that young man is now the Secretary General of the ruling party. I never thought I would see a politician who would surpass the record of being the youngest. I was lucky, I see. I don't think it's my place to tell you this, but a politician can't rise to the top without trickery and luck. Isn't that the most necessary talent? Saying this, Minami-san slowly takes a sip of his drink. I am surprised too, because what I want to do can only be done after I'm promoted. If I can't, I have too much to lose. I think everyone would be surprised to know that the great raccoon dog of the political world, who has been called the second coming of Miki Takeyoshi, is moving forward with his blue emotions. I am afraid of being compared to such a great historical figure. I don't think I deserve it. Miki Takeyoshi. He was a genius and a master of the art of intrigue who overthrew the legendary Prime Minister Yoshida Shigeru and brought about the 55-year regime of conservative unity, which was considered impossible. He died of illness shortly after the conservative unification, but the regime was maintained for about 40 years after that. To be honest, I think he's being praised too much. Because I'm only driven by promises to my best friend and personal grudges. Perhaps sensing my reaction, Minami-san spoke quietly. Isn't it time for you to forgive yourself? His words were like a cold, deadly weapon. Chapter 2 Tenugaki's Thoughts and Brother's Night. Forgive myself? If I could return to that light-filled place, I wouldn't regret my current position. But I know that this is just an unfulfilled wish. Then I must move on. I've made too many sacrifices to stop. My voice became surprisingly dark, even for me. Minami-san looked at me sadly. Kitchen Aono keeps Mamoru-kun's taste alive, you know. I have mixed feelings. I'm happy and sad at the same time. I see. Well, I'll stop there later. Without looking back at Minami-san, I paid the bill and got in the car waiting outside and back to Tokyo. Is it okay not to meet Oju-sama? The driver, my secretary, was very worried about me, but I just replied, it's okay. I got a little drunk. I almost closed my eyes. I'm sure I'll have nightmares if I sleep like this. Ogaki-sama. The Prime Minister is in a difficult situation. I think it's time for him to make a move. I'm sure he will. I have some assumptions. Assumptions? Yes. The Prime Minister is trying to involve me. If the government continues to be shaken, his approval rating will drop. To him, an influential person can be a political enemy who threatens his own. If I were the Prime Minister, I would try to limit him to a position in the cabinet that looks important but has no power. For example, a token Deputy Prime Minister. The positions of Deputy Prime Minister and Party Vice President are entirely honorary. But it is a promotional position. You can't hope for anything higher. These honorary positions don't have as much value as the General Secretary, who has control over money and personnel. Besides, I have finally come this far. I will finally reach my goal. So, is it time to move? Yes, we have a trump card. We will make full use of Kondo, who still has value. All-out war is near. It will take a lot of hard work to overthrow that supreme authority, the old man. He is like a ghost who has lost the presidential election several times but has risen to the top and attained this position with an almost obsessive lust for power. He will cling to his current position by any means necessary. We had to put an end to it. The car slowly heads for Tokyo. Ages POV. I can't sleep because of all the things that are going on. I've started working on my novel on my phone, which makes it even harder to sleep. I left my room and went downstairs to get a glass of water. My brother and mother were probably asleep, so I tried to keep my footsteps as quiet as possible. But the kitchen was on. Eiji, what's going on? At this late hour, my brother was drinking alone. I couldn't sleep. I thought I'd drink some water. I see. He was drinking whiskey in a Daruma-shaped bottle. It's the kind Dad often drinks in the evening. There was a bottle of mineral water next to it, so I assumed it was water. I took a glass and poured water from the glass next to my brother. He eats a piece of jaga butter with salted fish on top, which Dad used to eat a lot. My brother must be in the same sentimental mood I am. Do you want some? It must be nostalgic. Yeah. It's a combination Dad used to make a lot. Sometimes. If I'm having trouble with a recipe or something, I just do it myself. I kinda feel like Dad can give me some tips. Even Nissan has some problems. I thought he was a genius when it came to cooking. He can make food that tastes as close to Dad's as possible just by reading a recipe. The customers' reactions are also great. All the new menu items are delicious. Of course I am. Rather, I'm always struggling. I see. My appreciation for my brother is growing. He's been a great father figure to me at such a young age. Just a little while longer, the day I can drink with Eiji. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think Dad would have handled it better. The sudden apology stunned me for a moment. And I think it's typical of my clumsy brother. What are you talking about? Like I said, it's not something Nii-san should apologize for. I really respect and appreciate how hard Nii-san works for us, family. Thank you for everything. I also look forward to the day when I can have a drink with Nii-san. To hide my embarrassment, I took a bite of the potato butter my brother had made. The rich umami flavor filled my mouth. Chapter 211 To meet Kazuki. Demoto Yumi's Po v. The case my father is in charge of happened at the school Kazuki attends. Rumors about Kondo-kun and Tochibana-san seem to be spreading among our classmates at junior high school as well. This has become a big deal. I'm worried about the progress of the investigation. I thought about asking my father what was going on, but I guess that's impossible. There is no way my father, a serious man, would tell me. I wondered if it would be okay to contact Kazuki at such a difficult time. So, with a little hesitation, I sent him a message saying, I want to see you, and he replied right away. Then see you tomorrow, in front of the station. I read an unusually cheerful sentence. My sinking feelings were blown away somewhere. Then I sent him a reply right away. School is ending early because I have a parent-teacher meeting tomorrow. We decided to meet at Kazuki's finishing time. We met often, as if we wanted to make up for years of separation. Kazuki was even worried if I would be able to study for the exam. But I'm sure I'll give him good news tomorrow. I wonder if he will be happy. Full of anticipation, I opened my English vocabulary book. Today, I'll make the final push. The next day, in front of the station, my father, who had come for a parent-teacher meeting, had to go right back to work. I love my father, who makes important family events a priority, no matter how busy he is. Sorry for making you wait, you were early. Kazuki seemed to think that I would be later than him. No, actually, I had a parent-teacher meeting today, so I left school early. Ah, I see. Laughing, we enter our usual cafe. This place is famous for its pancakes, but Kazuki gets hot easily, so he always orders shaved ice. Just as I expected. My unspoken prediction came true, and I smiled to myself. No, Kazuki with shaved ice, that part hasn't changed either. I'm sorry, I haven't grown up. Kazuki has not changed his cold expression since we started again. It was as if he was not allowed to be happy, like he had decided not to be happy. But lately, he started smiling kindly, as if something that had possessed him had fallen off. No, it's the usual Kazuki, I'm happy. When I answered, he smiled shyly. How was the parent-teacher meeting? Yeah. I think I'll get a recommendation from the Women's University of my first choice. My teacher said that if I don't let my guard down, it won't be a problem. When I happily told him, he looked surprised and then smiled. That's great. Congratulations. I knew he meant it from the bottom of his heart. But somewhere in him, I see a hint of complexity. Kazuki has low self-esteem. It can't be helped after what happened, but it's still too low. Kazuki must have felt a little sad when he thought I would leave again, right? He froze with melted ice in his hand because of my directness. I didn't think so. Really? I doubt it. When I teased him, he turned away, maybe a little annoyed. But I know it's a gesture of embarrassment. We've known each other for a long time. Is it okay, Kazuki? There's no way I'd go far away. The 3 years we didn't see each other were so painful for me. I wouldn't do that. Yumi, he looks at me worriedly. He is worried about me because I am about to cry myself. Kazuki is amazing. Even though you stopped once, you started walking again. I look up to you. The grade doesn't matter. I have always respected you. It's times like this. Don't cover it up, let's get it all out. My emotions can't stop running wild. But I have no intention of stopping either. I have been working hard until now for the time when I can meet Kazuki again. Chapter 212 Kazuki Endo's Hope. Endo's Po v. Yumi looks right at me. My face is red from the sunset light coming in through the window. No, I blame the sun because I'm still weak. In junior high school, my girlfriend cheated on me, so I couldn't trust anyone. I also lost my confidence as a man. I thought no one would ever love me again. Same with Kondo and the others. It was my own personal revenge, and I couldn't involve anyone else. So the current situation is? I felt that this was something that shouldn't be allowed. I wondered if it was really okay for someone like me, who had engaged in revenge, to have this happiness. I am weak. Once, when I thought I was ready to go to hell, I want to go back to Yumi. Bye, Kazuki. I held back because you were dating my best friend, but I think I liked you, that day. I deliberately tried not to give her the answer to those words she said when we parted. It was an escape. I have been running away for a long, long time, ever since that day. And yet, Kazuki is amazing. You stopped once, but you started running again. I respect you. I don't care what your grade is. I'll always, always respect you. Yumi accepted me as I am. She told me that she respects me for who I am. After the revenge was over, my heart, which was about to become empty, was filled. I have been working so hard until now for the time when I can see Kazuki again. I was reminded once again that I couldn't give up on my life at this point. I can't run away from Yumi, who told me so much. I realized that the time had come for me to face this girl, who, although on the verge of tears, was desperately trying to be sincere with me. Thank you, Yumi. And sorry. I faced her and told her how grateful I was for everything she had done for me. She froze for a moment, and it looked like she was going to cry. For a moment, I thought, oh no. I knew I had probably misled her, but there was no way to stop my feelings. I'm sorry I kept running away from you. I'm sorry for making you wait so long since the day I heard Yumi's true feelings in my room. I bowed my head in despair. No, no. That time was because I wanted to tell you my true feelings at least one last time. I didn't expect an answer, and I was always afraid that I might have made Kazuki suffer even more because of my selfishness. We both talk about the regrets we've had since that day. But it's wrong. Yumi doesn't have to worry. After all, those words were as important to me as those of Aono and Eiji. No. Those words were my only hope in my hellish life. Without those words, I wouldn't have been able to recover. If it wasn't for Yumi, I would have rotted now. That might be why I tried to run away. Yokata. I was useful to Kazuki, even if only a little. She laughs in relief. It wasn't a little. For me, it was everything. I want to tell her exactly how I feel. But it is frustrating that I have no way to convey these feelings properly. My heart is racing. No matter how many times I tell myself to calm down, I just keep going like I don't care. I don't know how many years I've been waiting for this moment. I see. That's good. She seemed to be crying. Maybe this is arrogant of me. But with me now, I need a special reason to accept her tears. I want to be in a relationship where we don't have to go through all those troubles. Not just childhood friends. More than that, I want to go beyond that. Yumi. It may be too late to say this, but I want you to hear me. Yumi slowly looked into my eyes and nodded. I like you. Please go out with me. I finally said it. The girl in front of me was a little surprised, but she nodded as if she had seen through everything and said with a smile, yes, I'd be happy to. Chapter 213 Kondo-kun. Kondo's POV. The daily interrogations and the fact that I can't go home are eating away at my mind. What should I do? No matter what I say, they don't believe me. I don't know what will happen to me in the future. I wonder what will happen to my father. All I have are the bits and pieces of information the lawyer gives me. He said the company was going under, but that was definitely a lie. Will I be expelled from school? What am I supposed to do? I've made it to the 3rd year. Now I'm going to be expelled? Am I going to lose everything I've worked so hard for? I'm shaking every night thinking about this. It looks like the lawyer is here again. I went to see him, staggering like a ghost. Hello, Kondo-kun. You look pretty worn out. The old lawyer looked at my face and laughed. Is my face that bad? Shut up. I managed to squeeze it out, but my voice was weak. I sounded like a thug calling a pathetic bluff. I see. You're still bluffing. I'm impressed. The old man smiles carefreely. You, don't be so angry. I'm trying my best to give you advice. But Kondo-kun won't listen to me. I'm going to kill this old man someday. Damn, how did I end up like this? I couldn't help but let out a weak cry. I don't want to be weak in front of this old man. You know, Kondo-kun. You'd better stop acting like that. It's too late for that kind of attitude. When you were a rising star in the soccer club, someone might have helped you even if you had that attitude. But that's not the case now. Shut up. What do you know about me? And if you keep acting like this, I'll get angry. And that will be the end of the conversation. Your mother was also very disappointed in you. You'd better grow up. What the heck? You're just an employee. You shouldn't be telling me what to do. You really are a helpless person. Listen, don't you realize that while you're wasting the opportunity to discuss things with me like this, you're putting yourself in a worse and worse position? You're almost going to be sent to a juvenile detention center, you know. Juvenile detention center? Why do I have to go to a place like that? Kondo-kun. I've explained it to you many times, haven't I? And I'm sure the police have explained it to you as well, but maybe you didn't understand? I see. That's how it is. Cold sweat drips down my back at the sharp look in his eyes. Come to think of it, this old man and the police were saying things like probation and juvenile detention centers that I didn't understand. I ignored it because there was no way it was my fault, but I didn't think, hey, old man. Maybe I can get out of here. If I do what you say, I can get out, right? If he's threatening to send me to a juvenile detention center, there should be a way to avoid that. If there is a way, I'll even listen to this old man. You really are a brat, Kondo-kun. Well, since you were a first-time offender, you probably would have been sentenced to probation. I was a little annoyed when he called me a brat, but I decided to ignore it. What do you mean by probation? How many times did I have to explain? Simply put, it's a way for juveniles like you who have been caught doing bad things to live and rehabilitate themselves in society instead of in an institution. Chapter 216 Father and Father. TL, in essence, otsun is the everyday term for father, while shishi is a more formal or literary term. R is po v. I got into the car and headed to the designated restaurant. It was like being a bird in a cage again. The contrast to the free and happy time I just had was immense. Sensing my mood, Kyowa, who usually talked a lot, steered the car quietly. Among the family restaurants we used to visit, we were told to go to the Chinese restaurant. It was my mother's favorite. There were private rooms so my father could eat without worrying. It was a place full of precious memories. My father's car wasn't there yet. I seemed to have arrived first. This is Ugaki, who made the reservation. I had to use the family name. Although it should be nostalgic and precious, it felt heavy as a lead at the moment. 2 chairs were set up in the spacious private room. In a place that should be filled with the joy of family time, I was alone, waiting for my father. Enduring the heavy atmosphere, I tried to think of happier times. But I gradually forgot. Especially my father's smiling face. My father hadn't smiled since my mother died. He was an intelligent and kind man. But now, he just looks like a cold-blooded avenger. I heard a sound behind me. My father had arrived. The door opened slowly. Although it was still hot, I felt a chill, as if cold air had entered the room. A suffocating and cold atmosphere. A monster who had discarded his own weakness and simply lived with his brilliant brain. I couldn't call him father anymore. He was too different from the father I had known. The monster wearing the skin of my beloved father slowly sat down in front of me. Long time no see. How are you? As if he wasn't looking at me, he spoke in a solemn tone. Yes, I see. Our conversation, which didn't seem like that of a parent and child, ended there, and a heavy silence followed. What would you like to eat? Unable to bear the silence, I opened the menu. In the past, my father would always smile and let me choose the menu first. He always remembered my favorites and would casually order my mother's favorites too. But now, order whatever you want. I have a meeting after this, so I'll just have a light meal. I see. Even though he had suggested meeting me for dinner, he put his work schedule first. I was kind of shocked. It was something the old father would never do, and the words were so casual. Even though he was so close, my father was far away. The distance in our hearts hadn't closed at all. It's become quite a big issue, hasn't it, the problem of bullying at school? I was startled. How much did he know? Was the main topic of this dinner about Eiji-senpai? Yes, everyone at school is talking about it. It is the biggest scandal since the school was founded. Maybe it was a mistake to send you to that school. Your record has been tarnished. I suddenly felt short of breath. Don't belittle my important position for such a simple reason. If I hadn't gone to that school, I involuntarily glanced at my father, then quickly returned to a normal expression. Was this perhaps a trap? To confuse me. With his information network, he must have almost all the investigation information about the bullying incident. Father just stared at me without saying anything. As if he could see everything. Well, anyway. I'll be busy again tomorrow. Since I won't be able to show my face, please ask Kyowa if anything happens. After these words, we continued to eat in almost complete silence. Chapter 217 Dinner with my daughter. Ugaki's Povi. We continue our meal in silence, barely exchanging words. No, just meeting her is enough. Just meeting her gives me the courage to face death. Ordering the fried oyster, my wife's favorite, was in a way a symbol of my weakness. I wish I could go back to those happy days. The days when the three of us smiled as a family and when my dear, understanding friend was still with us. But it's too late. Everything is lost. All that remains is revenge. Of course, I didn't intend to do anything here. When I learned that my best friend's child was being bullied by Kondo, the son of that counselor, I had no choice but to carry out my plan before it was fully prepared. Even if it meant an all-out war with the Prime Minister's camp, it was necessary to render Kondo and his associates incapable of acting here. The Prime Minister's order was to solve the scandal as soon as possible, regardless of what happened to Kondo. However, this problem has grown beyond the expectations of the most powerful person in the country and continues to shake the foundation of the government. If Kondo's family were left alone, they might take revenge on the Aono family. So I had to destroy them, even though it was against the Prime Minister's wishes. By now, that man must have realized that there is a traitor somewhere. And the most likely candidate for that traitor is me. I am secretly leaking information about this incident to the media to prolong the scandal. The conflict with the government is still deepening under the surface, but it should come to the surface soon. There is no turning back now. But there is little risk that Ari will be harmed. Rumors of discord between me and my daughter are circulating in Nagatacho. Even the enemy camp will judge that I am no longer useful. In a way, Kitchen Aono was our Achilles heel, but this incident has drawn the media's attention to the Aono family. In other words, even the powers that be cannot easily touch us. The people I care about are safe now. The optimal environment for a decisive battle has been created. This dinner was necessary to strengthen my resolve for the next step. From here, my revenge drama will begin. Even if it means dying, I will not forgive. Ari's Povi. After our meal, I said goodbye to my father. I wanted to explain about Senpai, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. My father must know, but he said nothing on purpose. Is this okay? Or am I just being played with? Oju-sama, do you want to go somewhere? After watching my father's back as he left, I was asked by Kyowa, so I told him, I want to go to Kitchen Aono. I wanted to see my senpai. Chapter 218 A rainy day. Ari's Pov. Please let me off here. I asked Kyowa to let me off before we reach Kitchen Aono. But it will take a little more time from here. I know that. But I needed some time to collect myself before returning to that warm place. Please. I want to clear my head while I breathe some fresh air. Understood. I slowly got out of the car. The air outside was still hot, it felt like summer. Walking through the crowd. Everyone is walking happily. I'm probably the only one with a cloudy face. My dear father and my present father. He has changed so much that I can't believe he is the same person. If this continues, I'll end up alone. I don't want to be alone. So I went to that place that would welcome me warmly. I have to change my mood before I get there so that no one will worry. I must quickly return to my usual self. Only my feelings were impatient while my feet kept moving forward. Raindrops dripped down and wet my hair. Ah, rain! Let's hurry to the station, a woman nearby screamed. I also can see a salaryman taking a folding umbrella out of his bag. Ah! I forgot my umbrella. But it's a blessing for me right now, because it's perfect for hiding my tear-stained face. I can cry while walking and no one will notice. Thanks to this weather, I can be a child again. Why do I have to go through this? I've always been a good student. I've never caused my parents any trouble. They were both busy, so I put up with a lot. I also worked hard. I wanted to make them happy, so why did I have to endure such bullying? Why do I have to be separated from my father, whom I wanted to be with? My emotions exploded, and my heart gradually turned black. The balance of my heart, which had been stable since I met my senpai, was finally broken. I want to see him. I want to see him. I want to see him. At that moment, the rain that had been pouring down began to wash away from my body. I could hear the sound of water bouncing off the umbrella above my head. It took me a moment to realize that someone was holding an umbrella for me. I quickly turned around. My beloved person was looking at me with a worried expression, holding a shopping bag in his left hand. "What are you doing, walking around in the rain without an umbrella? Senpai, why are you here? Mom asked me to get some extra lettuce for the salad because we might run out." I was just on my way back. He seemed to have gone shopping without even changing out of his uniform. He looked like the familiar senpai I knew. "I see." I couldn't help but smile, feeling relieved like a lost child who had found her parents. I had cursed God for being cruel, but I changed my mind. The timing of my encounters with my senpai is always perfect. "Are you crying?" I couldn't help but feel startled. "I'm not crying. It's probably just the rain." He laughed at my poor excuse. And then he said the same thing I had said before. "I see." He must have guessed what had happened because he knew I was having dinner with my father. Let's just say it was the rain. "Anyway, let's go to my place. You'll catch a cold if you stay out here." "What about dinner?" "I've already finished." "Then how about some hot tea?" He spoke to me gently. I couldn't help but say, okay. Thanks to his umbrella, I, who was on the verge of collapsing a while ago, was back to my usual self. He gave me his handkerchief too. It was just like the first time we met. "It was raining that day, and I borrowed your towel." "Yes." "Unlike that day, Ari-san is dressed up quite nicely. Is that okay?" "It must be expensive, right?" "It is, but it's okay. Consider it my tuition." Achoo. I tried to be a little tough, but I couldn't win against the cold after feeling relieved. When I sneezed, he took off his jacket and put it over me. "I don't have anything else, so this is all I can do," he said shyly. "This is the best." I could feel his scent and his slight body temperature. Cherishing this happiness, we walked slowly forward. Chapter 219 Under One Umbrella. We walk home together, under one umbrella, trying to match our pace. I tilt the umbrella a little, pointing it more toward her. "Senpai, your shoulder is getting wet." "Don't worry about me, I'm already soaked." "It seems I've been found out easily." "No, I can't let that go on. I like that gentle side of you, but it makes me feel guilty, so please stop." "Well, if you say so, I can't help it." I held the umbrella straight up. "You're not going to ask what happened?" "No. I won't ask." "Why?" "Maybe because when I was at my worst, Ari-san did the same for me. She didn't try to go into an area I didn't want her to go into. I'm just doing the same thing." "I see. Thank you." She continues to look apologetic. "Besides, I trust you." "Trust? Even if you have a secret, our relationship isn't so fragile that it would break because of that, is it?" When I looked sideways, I saw her with a bright red face, but also with a somewhat happy expression. It's a miracle that I was able to meet a woman I could trust so much, especially after such an incident. "What's wrong? Are you cold?" She shook her head. "It's the opposite. I'm so happy, I'm hot now. If I wasn't soaking wet from the rain, I'd want to hug you." She must have realized that she had said too much. Her face turned red, and she looked down shyly. "Maybe you should wait a bit before saying that." When I teased her like that, her face turned even redder. "Did you hear that?" "Well, who knows? You are mean, senpai no baka. Even if you heard it, please pretend you didn't." I'm glad she's acting like a normal teenager for once. This time, when we're teasing each other like this, I feel incredibly happy. She shook her head vigorously and looked ahead. It seems that she's managed to change her mood a bit. Whenever something bad happens, I become so self-destructive. I hate the part of me that doesn't grow. The fact that she said that so casually makes me happy to know that she really trusts me. Is that so? At least you're relying on someone now, unlike before. That's because you're here for me. Because you promised to always be by my side. Her words trickle out, wet with emotion. Because you gave me the words I've always wanted, I'm able to move forward. It's the same for me. Since that day, she's been protecting me, even lowering her own status. Thanks to her getting back my important manuscript and pushing me forward, I am who I am now. I'm determined to make her happy. Oh, sorry. Your uniform jacket is wet. You'll have to wear it tomorrow. She begins to calm down. It's okay, I have another one at home. Thank you. She said that and hugged my jacket tightly, looking a little cold. After that, we had a short conversation, confirming that we care for each other without saying much. R is Po-V. I can smell senpai's scent. Feeling a sense of security and embarrassment, I realize that my conversation is becoming incoherent and that I'm acting strangely. I'm no longer the depressed girl I was a moment ago, but just a normal girl enjoying a happy time with her boyfriend. I realized that there's no need to think about difficult things. Right now, I just want to bask in this happy moment as a high school student. Instead of hugging him, I hugged his jacket tightly. Chapter 220 Bath Event 1. R is Po V. After entering Senpai's house, it was a complete mess. Mom, with tears in her eyes, said, "Ari-chan, are you okay? You must be cold. I'll prepare some clothes for you, so go take a bath. I'll boil the water right away," and handed me a warm cup of tea and nearly 10 towels. Just drinking the tea made me feel better, and I was about to cry again. When Mom saw me looking sad, she became even more worried, so I forced myself to smile. When she saw my smile, she finally relaxed. I got into the bath she had prepared. Mom immediately took my wet clothes to the cleaners. I really wonder what I'm doing. As I soaked in the hot water and took a deep breath, I suddenly felt embarrassed. I was causing everyone so much worry and trouble, and I was just acting on my emotions. I hastily tried to push those negative feelings away. No, I'm receiving kindness from Senpai and Mom. It's wrong to belittle myself. That would be like denying the kindness of those who reach out to me. I washed my face with hot water. As my body temperature rose, I began to feel more comfortable. I breathed a sigh of relief. I see, he always bathes here. Maybe it was because I felt comfortable that I couldn't help but think. It wasn't just the warmth, my heart was racing. The body soap and shampoo I used earlier. Maybe he used them too. I tried to find a hint of his scent. It's the same scent, I said, blushing involuntarily. What am I thinking? I thought as I started to splash my feet and wanted to squirm, but I remembered that I had borrowed the bathtub and quickly stopped myself. However, that only left me with no way to release the heat of embarrassment, causing my body temperature to rise even more. I quickly washed my face with cold water again. "Ari-chan." "Why yes," Mom suddenly called from the dressing room, and because of the bad timing, I was so startled. "I'll leave the clothes here for you, so feel free to wear them. Thank you for everything. Don't worry about it. You're like family to us now. We help each other when we're in trouble, but I'll definitely pay for the cleaning. Don't worry. Sometimes it's okay to be spoiled. I'm always being spoiled." When I said this apologetically, she spoke with a hint of joy. "Then let's go shopping together next time. It'll be nice to spend some time together as women." Mom left with a happy expression on her face. To avoid overheating, I decided to get out of the bath early. When I dried my body with a towel, it had a soft fabric softener scent. Once again, I felt my heart race because of the same scent. And when I looked at the clothes she had prepared for me, I was speechless. What was prepared for me was clearly a large man's shirt. And it was a shirt that I remembered Senpai wearing. I let out an involuntary scream and felt my body heating up. And then, I heard the door suddenly open. Chapter 221 Bath Event 2. The door opened completely. In front of me stood Senpai, holding a pile of towels. He didn't notice me because the towels were stacked higher than his eye level. "Sorry, Ari-san. I'm opening it." Mom asked me to bring the towels. I let out a voiceless scream at the sound of his carefree voice. Panicking, I grabbed his shirt. "You can't just open the door without saying anything first. Maybe he's being careless because it's his own house. I need to say something before he notices." I spoke in a trembling voice. "Senpai, don't move. I am not wearing anything right now. Just give me a moment." However, that only made things worse. Because, upon hearing that, he became flustered too. Sorry." In a panic, as he tried to leave the room, the tower of towels in front of him collapsed from the recoil. Before it could fall completely, I quickly turned around. Time seemed to freeze. I shut my eyes tightly. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. And then I realized I was in a terrible state. I was holding his shirt with both hands, and it almost looked like I was smelling it. The feeling of wanting to avoid being misunderstood or hated by Senpai was stronger than the shame of being seen naked. "Kia!" I couldn't help but scream. Slowly, I opened my eyes to check on him. He was desperately keeping his eyes shut. His panic was so obvious that I couldn't help but laugh. "Sorry, I was careless." His voice trembled too. "Did you see?" I asked, cautiously. He shook his head, his hair flying. "Really?" I asked again to confirm, a little doubt in my voice. His movement slowed down slightly. "Sorry." I saw a little. Seeing him apologize so sincerely, I felt strangely affectionate. "Baka, I'm sorry." He shrank further as I cornered him. Eki, he shrank even more. You still can't look, okay? I said, then quickly went back into the bathroom. It's fine now. Maybe because I was in a hurry, I still had his shirt in my hands. I'm really sorry. Anyway, I'll just put the towels next to the washing machine. I heard him quickly leave the changing room, as if trying to escape. I sighed in relief. I was seen. I felt a little embarrassed. In that moment, I forced myself to justify my actions. This is payback, I said, hugging his shirt. It made me feel oddly happy, as if I were being protected by him. I realized again that I really liked him. Things might get a little awkward from now on, but I guess it has to be a little awkward. Feeling the warmth of the person I love, my heart slowly began to melt. I slowly slipped my arms into the sleeves of his shirt. Chapter 222 An awkward but happy atmosphere. I messed up. I ran away from the bath and curled up in self-loathing. I should have knocked then. I completely let my guard down when Mom said, "Ari-chan just got in, so bring her a towel." Honestly, since it's a house full of guys, I've never once in my life had to be cautious in the bathroom. That carelessness completely backfired. Just recalling the scene from earlier makes my body freeze. Because there was a presence so pure and beautiful that I shouldn't have seen, standing in the changing room. I wonder if she's angry. I look up at the ceiling, worried but also relieved. Suddenly, her face appears. It's fine. I'm not really that angry. She was laughing silently, trying to surprise me. Her hair was still wet, giving off an almost unreal vibe. And she was wearing my shirt. Well, Mom is taking the clothes she was wearing to the cleaners now, so I guess it can't be helped. But still, seeing her, fresh out of the bath, wearing my loose-fitting clothes, this is something no normal high school student should experience. Time, stop. You are beautiful. TL, Gertie's Faust, Zeet, bleib du bist so schön. Without thinking, the famous line from Gertie's Faust slipped out of my mouth. What's that? Spouting such dramatic words without an apology, are you trying to die or something? TL, I don't know what this means, maybe it's also related to Faust. Sorry I didn't read it. I couldn't help but laugh at her comeback. That's a reply only someone who's read Faust all the way through could come up with. As expected of a model student. So cultured. But before I could admire her too much, there was something I had to say first. I turned around, sat up straight, and bowed my head. I'm sorry about earlier. Honestly, I let my guard down. It's okay. It's fine if Senpai sees me, she said that, slightly embarrassed, as I continued to apologize. Thank you. Are you okay? Your face is really red. Even considering she had just gotten out of the bath, her face was flushed. Could it be from the heat? I'm embarrassed too, Barker. She shyly responded. Want to eat some ice cream? That's what came out without thinking. I'll eat. She was fanning herself with her hands, trying to lower her body temperature. I quickly ran to the freezer. In the heat of the moment. I just told him I wouldn't mind showing him my naked body. I'm such an idiot. I scooped some high-quality vanilla ice cream, used at the store for desserts, into containers and prepared 2 servings. Here you go. Thank you. After that, we ate the ice cream in silence, the awkward atmosphere hanging between us. She took the first bite and said, "It's delicious." Time passed in an awkward, but not unpleasant, atmosphere. Then Mom came back. The rain's coming down hard again. Oh, what's with you two? You're both so quiet. Mom smiled happily. We could only eat our ice cream in silence. Eiji, can you help me with something over here? When she said that, I went back to the kitchen. Mom, were you trying to tease us earlier? I complained, and Mom just smiled slightly and said nothing. Hey, Eiji. Is Ari-chan okay? Taking off her smile, Mom asked seriously. I'm not sure. But she seemed pretty down. I see. That's why I think you should stay close to her for now. Who? Since the rain isn't stopping, why don't you have her stay over tonight? Chapter 223 Staying over. Stay over at our place? Is it really okay for a mother to say something like that to her son's girlfriend? Even in ancient times, people said, men and women should not share a bed past the age of 7. That's a saying from ancient China. Hardly anyone uses it these days, except maybe you. Mom smiled as if she could read my mind. How can you read my mind? It's written all over your face, men and women should not share a bed past the age of 7. There's no way something like that is written on my face. Once Mom got going like this, I knew there was no stopping her. But still, isn't it a bit much? It's fine. In fact, leaving her alone in her apartment might be more dangerous. This could turn into a big deal, though. It's fine. If push comes to shove, I'll talk to her father myself. Since she said that so firmly, I couldn't argue. When I returned to the living room where Ari-san was waiting, she looked somewhat relieved as she watched TV. So, is everything okay with Mom now? Yeah. So, I was wondering if you could stay over tonight. Not wanting to drag it out unnecessarily, I said it directly. She froze, staring at me suspiciously while instinctively covering her chest. Do you mean that in that certain way? Her suggestive reply made me so embarrassed I could die. No. I mean, it's just that the rain is getting worse, and you seem down today. I thought it might not be good for you to be alone. I even discussed it with Mom. I see. I'm sorry for making you worry. I'm not forcing you. I know it's a big deal for a girl to stay over at a guy's place. That's true. But tonight, please take care of me. Yeah, I guess so. Wait, what? Surprised by her reaction, I hesitated for a moment. I'm saying, please take care of me. I've never stayed at a friend's house before, so I've always been a little curious. And besides, well, it's not often you get a chance to stay at your boyfriend's place. I'm kind of excited. I could feel my rationality being chipped away. Excited? What does she mean by that? Won't it be a problem with your dad? It's fine. I'll send him a message saying I'm staying at a friend's house. Is that really going to be okay? It's fine. I'll let Kyowa know too, so he can cover for me if needed. Okay. I'll go prepare the futon then. Thank you. Oh, Anne. She came closer and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear. I feel like I'm doing something naughty. I'm about to lie to my dad, too. I could feel my body temperature spike. Trying not to let her notice, I quickly left the room. Is Povi. I can't be myself today at all. Alone in the Aono family's living room, I let out a deep sigh. My body felt hot. I took a deep breath to calm myself, but all I could smell was his scent. I could feel my rationality slowly crumbling. Chapter 2:20 For a night for two, 1. Well then, enjoy yourselves. Just the two of you, young ones. Mom said this with a chuckle and was about to head back to her room. No, wait a minute. This is definitely not okay. When I protested, she responded indifferently. What's the problem? In front of me were my bed and a futon laid out for the guest. She expects us to sleep in my room, just the two of us. Normally, it's the parent who stops the kids, and the kids sneak around and break the rules. But you two are such honor students. Seriously, what is this mother even saying? At the very least, Ari-san should sleep in your room, Mom. Even when I said that, she wouldn't budge. Instead, she leaned over and whispered something to Ari-san, making sure I could hear. Ari-chan, you want to sleep with Eiji, don't you? Or do you not want to? Her face turned bright red as she looked down and mumbled, it's not that I don't want to, but it feels too soon. It's fine. Stay up late and chat with Eiji. Right now, I think that's exactly what Ari-chan needs. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded slightly. The atmosphere had already been set, there was no turning back. Is Povi. Senpai, I'll sleep on the floor. Really? No way. I can't let a guest sleep on the floor. Hearing him say that, my heart warmed at his kindness, though I couldn't help feeling a little guilty. Are you sure you won't be cold? It's fine. It's still September, after all. Hearing that made me smile despite myself. As I took a deep breath to calm down, I caught Senpai's scent, not just from his clothes but also from the bed and even the room itself. It made my head spin a little. Shall we talk for a bit? To hide my flustered state, I turned toward him while lying down. Sure. He rustled and turned to face me. Senpai, when did you start liking me? As soon as I asked, I felt embarrassed at how straightforward it was. It felt like teasing, yet I was the one taking damage. But tonight, I didn't want to lie. Maybe when we skipped school together, so that's it. It's the same for me. Why? Was there something about me back then that made you like me? Because you looked at me without prejudice, and you laughed so genuinely, more than I expected. You were different from the image I had in my head. You're so straightforward. But I remember that day clearly. I think it was the first time in ages I laughed from the bottom of my heart. It was all thanks to you, Senpai. I couldn't bring myself to say the words that followed out loud. That day, when I met you by chance, you saved me. When we skipped school together, you reminded me how to smile. And here at Kitchen Aono, you let me feel the warmth of the family I had longed for. How could I not fall for you? For someone like me, who finds it hard to rely on others, There's no one else I could open up to this much. That's why I fell in love with a man named Aono Eiji. Senpai, can I come over to your side for a bit? Chapter 225 A Night for Two. Is Po V. What did I just blurt out? Senpai, can I come over to your side for a bit? I could tell he froze and held his breath at my sudden suggestion. A silence lingered for just a little too long. In this dark space, only our breathing echoed. My heart ached the moment the words left my mouth. Sure, he replied in a gentle voice. That kindness in his tone seemed to dissolve into the darkness. Then, I'll take you up on that offer. I tried to compose myself as much as possible. It felt like the last shred of pride I had as a girl. Even though I was trembling inside, a part of me was secretly hoping for something. Slowly, I slid into his futon. He turned to face me and shifted slightly, making room for me. Once under the covers, I realized how close we were, close enough to see his face even in the dark. The spot still retained his body warmth. Wearing his shirt and sharing the same futon only intensified the scent I'd been noticing earlier. Aren't you cold? He asked gently. No, I'm fine. We were so close our breaths intertwined, and if we weren't careful, our bodies might touch. The awkwardness from earlier had been replaced with something entirely different. Before I lost my composure, I had to say what needed to be said. Senpai, thank you for today. It's nothing. Meeting you was a coincidence, and letting you stay over was Mom's idea. After all, he spoke with his usual kindness. I lightly touched my cold right hand to his left hand under the futon. Even so, thank you for finding me. I really mean it. Before I knew it, our hands were entwined. The warmth from his hand slowly spread to mine. That's just how he is. He always finds me exactly when I need him most. He stays by my side without saying a word. Before meeting him, I didn't believe in things like fate. Or rather, I believed in it in a negative way. I'd thought countless times, why does this have to happen to me? I thought the world's unfairness was my fate. Back then, didn't I promise I wouldn't let you go? In chapter 128. It was a promise made on an important day. I was so happy he remembered it that our fingers intertwined. I couldn't help but squeeze his hand a little tighter. Back then, I thought I wouldn't have minded whatever happened. I was reckless, prepared to accept being kissed or pushed down. Yet he found what I truly needed, and because of that, it's okay. The one I love most is right here in front of me, and surely, he'll stay by my side. You remembered. I'd never forget. I promised to always stay by your side. That's exactly it, Senpai. You're such an idiot. How do you always know the exact words I want to hear? Even though I thought I'd lost everyone. How did you manage to bring me back? You even gave me a place to belong. Yeah, I muttered meaningless words and rested my head against his chest. Here, I always end up crying. But tonight was different. As always, he wrapped me in his embrace. It's okay. His gentle voice reached my ears. I slowly lifted my head and looked into his eyes, pouring in every reason I'd fallen for him, every ounce of my emotion. I gently pressed my lips to his. We savored the moment as though trying to make it last forever. Pulling away for a moment, I saw the surprised look on his face. I wondered what would happen if I closed my eyes again. With that faint hope, I slowly shut my eyes. The second kiss was even gentler than the first. Chapter 226 The Fate of the Bully's Family and a Night for Two. Aida's mother's Po V. How did it come to this? My son, who entered a prestigious high school in the prefecture and had enough talent to compete in national soccer tournaments. He was supposed to be my pride and joy. I was so proud I would boast about him to relatives and neighbors. This happened because you raised him poorly. And why did you post such nonsense online in the first place? Now, our address is exposed, I get cold stares at work, and I can't even shop in peace. It's because you're an idiot that he ended up getting involved with the police. My husband, shirking all responsibility, lashed out at me like that. How selfish can you be? Overwhelmed by emotions, I snapped back at him. What did you say? You're the one being called a monster PTA moms online. Don't you dare talk back to me. It's over for us. Our son got arrested, dropped out of high school, and became a full-fledged criminal for trying to gang up on and assault a girl. He vandalized school property and bullied his classmates. We raised a total SC_bag. And thanks to your mess, the neighbors know everything. I can't even go to work anymore. This is all your fault. That's not true. He was just led astray by bad kids. He didn't mean to do anything that terrible. It's all because of that senior, Kondo. I don't care. Either way, he's getting expelled, just like the other soccer club members. I'm done supporting someone like that. When he comes back, you and he can get out. Divorce, disownment, whatever. If you're so eager to defend him, do it on your own. My husband stormed off to the kitchen as if trying to escape. I heard the sound of something breaking. Everything is falling apart. Just a few weeks ago, our everyday life seemed so normal, but now it's been destroyed because of my son. My husband is so proud, he might even quit his job over this. I want to fix our relationship somehow, but the threatening voice recording I made at the school has become a digital tattoo. No matter how many times I've requested its deletion, it's useless. It will never disappear. Since that recording surfaced, my husband has looked at me like I'm filth. I don't know what kind of face to show when my son comes back. Can I ever love my son again? As I crumble into tears, I watch the collapse of my family gradually become reality. In the dark, cold house, I'm left all alone. Ages Po V. Ari-san closed her eyes. I understood it was a signal, so I gently claimed her lips. Her breath was unbelievably soft and sweet, her skin so tender. We kissed while embracing, and I could feel her warmth. My mind was completely overwhelmed. The second kiss was long and filled me with incredible happiness and contentment. We did it, didn't we? A kiss. Speaking slower than usual, her face was bright red. Yeah, you probably know this, but that was my first kiss. Her words sent a jolt through me. Thank you. What are you even saying? You're making me embarrassed. Senpai, maybe it's different for you, but I was so nervous. Her seductive tone and upward gaze made my head spin. It was my first time too. She let out a small "A" in surprise before smiling. That's good. Then it'll be a lifelong memory for both of us. Blushing as she spoke, she kissed me again. It felt like we might never stop. That's enough for tonight. If we keep going, I won't be able to stop. I was overcome with strange feelings, a mix of happiness and loneliness. Well, I'll head back to bed. She slowly rose from the futon, leaving behind a sweet scent. Turning back after standing, she looked so reluctant to leave. I almost told her not to go, when, actually, can I sleep next to you tonight, senpai? I don't want to be alone. There was no reason to refuse. Chapter 227 Miyuki's Regret. Miyuki's Po V. I was under suspension, unable to go to school, and could only shut myself inside the house all alone. I already knew what was going to happen if things stayed like this. I'd be expelled from school. Even if I weren't expelled, there would no longer be a place for me there, and I didn't even have the right to rely on the teachers for help anymore. After all, I betrayed Eiji and the others, who had been so kind to me. I drove him to the brink of suicide. And I did it all because I was afraid of my reputation being tarnished, framing him for something he didn't do. Thinking about it calmly, I realized what a terrible thing I had done. The intercom rang. It was probably the teachers. It's Takayaniji. Amada, are you all right? Takayaniji-sensei asked. Mitsue-sensei was standing behind him. Considering the incident on the rooftop and the fact that my mother was hospitalized, the two of them came to my house every day after work. They were worried about me. Even someone like me. Perhaps they were just fulfilling the bare minimum duties of teachers, but still, you don't have to come anymore, sensei. I know you're busy, and coming every day. I'm not planning to die anymore, anyway. Even though they went out of their way to come, I couldn't help but speak harshly. I could feel myself sinking deeper and deeper to the very bottom. That's good to hear. I feel a little relieved. Despite my cruel words, sensei brushed them off lightly. And yet, he responded with kind words. I didn't deserve such kindness. So you say? Are you just pitying me? Are you trying to act like a good teacher? It was pure venting. But once the words left my mouth, I couldn't stop. My unstable mental state crushed my rationality. I was such a piece of trash that I thought it was better to let myself fall as far as I could. Everyone who got involved with me ended up unhappy anyway. Hey, Amada-san, that's too much. My homeroom teacher stared at me silently while Mitsue-sensei behind him reprimanded me. I knew I was doing the worst thing. No, Mitsue-sensei. I understand why she feels that way. Even after I hurled such harsh words at him, he still tried to act like a teacher. Seeing the difference in our characters made me feel even more miserable. But you see, Amada, what you did can't be undone. Take this incident, for example, if your parents had been influential people and the teachers had caved to that pressure, it might have been buried. You might not have had to endure so much pain. He looked extremely pained, as though he was on the verge of tears. But if that had happened, you would have had to live with even greater suffering in your heart forever. Isn't that true? If Eiji had died because of this incident, it would have been truly irredeemable. The sudden return to the terrifying reality made me break out in a cold sweat. I couldn't help but cling to Sensei, desperately pleading for his help. I've ruined the lives of so many people. I'm about to lose everything I've worked so hard to build. And yet, it's still not enough. What should I do? Please tell me. But what's done cannot be changed. You have to think about what to do from now on by yourself. Even we teachers don't know what the right answer is, and there might not even be one. You can't just expect someone else to hand you the solution. You've done something so serious that you're now faced with such a difficult question. Take it one step at a time. Accept reality, because that's the only way you'll ever be able to move forward. His words were cold, yet they showed a deep understanding of my exact position. All my emotion spilled out, and I collapsed at the entrance. It felt like the world went dark before my eyes. I'm scared to move forward. It's terrifying. That was all I could manage to say. Ugaki's POV. I visited the police station because I had something I needed to confirm with former city councillor Kondo. That foolish man was in this detention center. Honestly, I never wanted to see him again. Ugaki-san, I'm terribly sorry. It seems the preparations are taking some time. Let me introduce myself, I'm Demoto, nice to meet you. And again, I apologize. Actually, one of my subordinates has some questions they'd like to confirm with you. Standing behind the veteran officer in charge of the case was a lean man around 40, with hawk-like, sharp eyes. I see. If that's the case, I'll wait alone. I have some important work to confirm, so I'd like to handle this matter alone today. As I tried to decline, the sharp-eyed man approached and whispered in my ear. Secretary General Ugaki, my name is Furuta. I'm in charge of investigating the bullying case involving the son of former city councillor Kondo. We're also interrogating the head of the literature club, who appears to be the mastermind behind the bullying. I also have something to discuss regarding your daughter and your true intentions. Oh, men like him, with sharp instincts, are best avoided. I shouldn't get too close to someone like this, but if he'd investigated that far, then I had no choice but to listen. Understood, I replied briefly, and he gave a sly smile. Chapter 228 Ugaki's Inner Thoughts. Ugaki's POV. Upon entering the reception room, I found myself alone with a policeman named Furuta. My personal guards had been stationed outside. So, what is it you wish to discuss, Furuta-san? I spoke as calmly as I could, and Furuta responded with a defiant smile. Well, Ugaki-san, why are you so deeply involved in this matter? His words felt almost like an interrogation. I replied with a wry smile, aware that if this turned out to be trivial, Furuta might well lose his head. He must have braced himself for that possibility. Yet the man before me spoke with an unsettling confidence. Was it sheer boldness, or plain foolishness? I can't understand why someone of your stature would dive so deeply into a corruption scandal involving a mere city councillor. Even if the Prime Minister asked you to cover it up, it's strange for you to get directly involved. Isn't this the kind of work you delegate to a secretary or someone behind the scenes? And yet, you've chosen otherwise. Why is that? Because acting personally puts my mind at ease. Does that answer fail to satisfy? I see. That does make sense. But isn't it true that instead of suppressing this issue, you're actively working to spread it further? HMPH. It's dangerous to approach someone with sharp instincts. Sure enough, Furuta was inching closer to the truth from just a glimmer of unease. No comment. If you're so intent on forcing me to talk, feel free to bring a warrant. Of course, there was no way he could do that. My words, tinged with sarcasm, didn't shake him in the slightest. Then I'll speak freely. Am I obligated to listen? I began to rise from my seat, but he ignored me and continued speaking. Your goal, Ugaki-san, is revenge, isn't it? Revenge against the people who stole your wife, inflicted deep wounds on your daughter, and drove the memento of your late best friend to the brink of Sue_side. Eiji-kun's case was entirely coincidental, I'd say. However, thanks to his incident, you were able to advance the clock hands of your plan. Of course, your resentment doubled because of it. I said nothing, glaring at him. In that silence, my acknowledgement was clear enough. I lowered myself back into my seat. The slush funds from Councillor Kondo flowed into the Prime Minister's faction, didn't they? No comment. My curt response carried a sharp edge, urging him to continue quickly. A contradictory performance, indeed. And those slush funds originated from the local general contractor run by Councillor Kondo. That company is peculiar. It handles road and tunnel construction and maintenance projects far beyond its scale. Isn't it because the contractor uses project funds to generate slush money, which is then funneled into the Prime Minister's faction? And beyond that, Furuta's gaze bore into me as he spoke relentlessly. I clenched the fountain pen in my suit pocket tightly to keep my agitation in check. Public works projects undertaken by Kondo's company have repeatedly faced issues. Eventually, there was even a tunnel collapse. It was a catastrophic accident that claimed lives. Likely, corners were cut during construction to save costs. And yet, for some reason, accountability for these incidents was never pursued. Why? To protect the financial roots tied to powerful figures and to suppress a potential major scandal. Among the victims of that collapse were your wife and daughter. It all connects, Ugaki-san. You pretended to support the Prime Minister, infiltrated the core of his administration, and bided your time for revenge. I had never imagined I'd encounter someone this capable. Truly unfortunate. I went beyond wry amusement, finding myself utterly speechless. Even knowing my family had been among the victims, those men continued to use me without the slightest change in demeanor. Or perhaps they arrogantly assumed I was unaware. My support was likely vital to their victory in the party leadership election. That's why they sought to elevate me, even if I was a potential ticking time bomb. Entrusting me with the aftermath of this incident was a humiliation, but it also presented the perfect opportunity. However, there's one thing I can't quite grasp. Your theories are amusing, but entirely unfounded. I attempted to cut him off, but Furuta ignored me. Yes, perhaps for now. That's fine. HMPH. Something about his strange charm held me in place. I reached for the coffee in front of me. It had gone cold. The one thing I can't understand is this: why did you distance yourself from your daughter? True, keeping her near you as you pursued revenge might have been dangerous. But leaving her alone in such a vulnerable mental state is far more perilous, isn't it? Witnesses say that during your wife's lifetime, you doted on your daughter to the point that you couldn't bear to take your eyes off her. There's no way you weren't worried about her. And yet, you deliberately pushed her away. And after the incident, following your wife's funeral, you spent 2 weeks in Kyo Hospital under the guise of a medical examination, keeping it hidden from the media. That hospital is renowned for its cardiac specialists. You're often seen clutching your pen to your chest, a habit even visible on television. But it wasn't to calm yourself by holding the pen, was it? You were concerned about something deeper within. Most likely, to think he would trample so far into my private domain. My hand reflexively gripped the pen he referenced. Have been living with a ticking time bomb in your heart. Chapter 229 Ugaki's Resolve. I couldn't help but laugh. Who would have thought that such a minor hint could bring him so close to uncovering my most closely guarded secret? This man is dangerous. But depending on how I use him, he could become a trump card. Things just got interesting. You're an intriguing person, Furuta-san. Rather than a policeman, wouldn't you be better suited as a novelist or screenwriter? You could create an incredible crime drama series. But unfortunately, this is reality. What you described is nothing more than your imagination. At that moment, I had no choice but to respond this way. Is that so? Then perhaps I should consider a career change. He deflected my verbal jabs with an air of effortless nonchalance. And then, our conversation was abruptly cut short. Ugaki-san, preparations are complete. Furuta-san's superior knocked on the door and stepped inside. Thank you. I'll be right there. And with that, the intellectual game between us came to an end. There was a faint tinge of regret, but, well then, Furuta-san. Until we meet again. Yes, Ugaki-san. Thank you for your time. Like a conversation following an interrogation, our exchange ended with subtle implications hanging in the air. When I first heard about the accident involving my wife and daughter, the blood drained from my face. I rushed to the scene, but by the time I arrived, my wife had already passed away. After the merciless announcement, my body stiffened for a moment, and my memory from that point onward became fragmented. I intended to head straight to the accident site, but the police stopped me. Normally, I would have immediately understood their reasoning, but at that moment, perhaps due to my state of confusion, I couldn't comprehend why they were holding me back. My wife is in there. Let me confirm my daughter's safety. Later, when I asked my secretary, I was told that I had echoed those words before collapsing. my secretary acted on my behalf and informed me that Ari had been taken to the hospital. I headed there, leaving my wife's remains in the care of the rescue team. Miraculously, Ari's injuries were minor. After breathing a sigh of relief, I soon realized that her emotional wounds ran far deeper than her physical ones. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Because of me. Mom. All I could do was hold my sobbing daughter tightly. Despite being the one who endured the most fear and pain, every time she saw my face, she would apologize. The sight was so heart-wrenching that I couldn't bear to face it. I began to fear that seeing my face would only serve to remind Ari of the trauma. That's why I decided to attend my wife's funeral alone. I couldn't allow the media to turn my precious daughter, the miracle survivor, into their plaything. And then, after the funeral, I uncovered a shocking truth. I happened to overhear some gossip attendees during the service. Apparently, the cause of the accident was shoddy repairs. Then this could become a huge scandal. No, it seems that company has ties to a powerful political figure. The slush funds from the corner-cutting construction were funneled there. They're applying significant pressure to bury the case. Responsibility will likely remain ambiguous, and the truth will never come to light. Wow, that's terrible. What followed was carried out with a speed that even surprised me. I gathered the construction records for the tunnel, confirmed the repair history of the collapse site, and identified the contractor responsible. It became clear right away that it was Councillor Kondo's company. Then, with the cooperation of public security officials, I thoroughly investigated Councillor Kondo's connections and the movements of his bank accounts. And finally, I arrived at the truth behind this incident. The mental strain, the stress of losing my wife, seeing my daughter completely broken, and my already overwhelming workload, all of it, compounded by the effort to pursue the allegations against Councillor Kondo, pushed me to the brink. Everything piled up, and I suffered a heart attack and collapsed. Without letting my daughter or those around me notice, I was rushed to the hospital for emergency admission. The diagnosis I received was a severe and critical heart condition. You must stop working immediately. Excessive stress could worsen your condition. While the symptoms can be managed with medication, if you suffer repeated episodes, the medication will gradually lose its effectiveness, and eventually, it will lead to death. If I quit my job, will I recover? The hesitation in their response told me everything. I now had to live with a ticking time bomb inside me, not knowing when it might go off. It was a cruel reminder that my path led inevitably to death. Strangely, the thought of my own mortality didn't shock me. What troubled me more, unbearably so, was whether Ari would be able to endure knowing about my death. Ari was already at her limit, and the thought of being the final blow that shattered her heart completely felt like an unbearably cruel fate. I cursed the gods for this torment. I couldn't die like this. In that moment, I resolved to seek revenge. Chapter 230 The Promised Kiss. After our kiss ended, we held hands and spent the night together. Her breaths were somehow sweet, yet fleeting. I never thought I would have a boyfriend. I always believed I wasn't worthy of loving anyone or being loved. If people knew about what happened to me, about my family, they'd leave me. Just like back in middle school. After rejecting a confession, someone told me I was like a robot, a girl with an unlikable face destined to live alone. The beautiful junior murmured those words. I understood why, because she carried too much on her own. The wound she bore ran far too deep. The thought of punching the person who said that to her filled me with rage. She hadn't chosen to live alone, she had been forced to. I wanted to correct that misunderstanding. If someone was confessing to her, why couldn't they see Ara-san's true nature? If I had been there, I would have beaten that guy to a pulp. Honestly, I think I'm the lucky one here. She chuckled softly at my little joke but firmly denied it. That's not true. I'm the lucky one. If I hadn't met you, I wouldn't be alive right now. Her grip on my hand tightened, as if to convey her unwavering determination. Please, don't ever think about dying again. Not for your mom, not for anyone else, but for me. I'd be the saddest of all. And you're the one telling me that, senpai? I'd feel the same way if I lost you. I know all too well the pain of losing someone precious. We kissed again. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a promise, a vow that we'd never let go of each other. No matter what misfortunes awaited us, we would face them together. In a way, it felt like an even heavier vow than the kiss exchanged at a wedding. I wondered if it was right to make such a serious promise in a place so devoid of romance. But then I realized, this was the only time and place we could make such a vow. This was supposed to be just sleeping next to each other, but we ended up kissing. That's true. We laughed together, hiding our mouths beneath the futon. Why are you always like this? Not just now, or today, but also on the day you confessed, and that day on the school rooftop. Why are you always here for me, senpai? It was all a matter of chance. But I was grateful to the God who had arranged those chances, because I had been able to save her. That's my line too, you know. Thank you for being where I could find you. I conveyed that message with just my gaze. After the accident, everyone around me seemed like an enemy. I hated everything. But then, she hesitated for a moment before seemingly making up her mind. Turning toward me, she spoke. We were so close that our breaths mingled, her gaze locked onto mine. You were the only one, senpai. Ever since we met, I never once thought of you as an enemy. Then, my junior leaned her soft body against me and whispered, I love you. Chapter 231 Encounter. School had ended, and Ari-san said she would head home first before we parted ways. Well, she did stay over last night, so she probably has things to take care of. But since we promised to have dinner together at my place, we'll be seeing each other soon. Just thinking back to last night's sweet moments makes my heart race. A third-year student approaches from the opposite direction, and we pass each other. Lately, I've been slowly getting used to walking alone. Ari-san and Satoshi have been looking out for me, making sure I'm not left on my own too often, but when I do end up alone like this, I can't help but feel tense. Hey, that's the guy from the rumors, right? Yeah, but I heard that rumor wasn't true after all. Who knows? You can't be sure. Hey, they say there's no smoke without fire. I knew it, people were bound to say things like that. I let out a quiet sigh without thinking. Once a bad rumor starts spreading, it never truly disappears from people's minds. No matter how much the teachers or those around me deny it on my behalf, there will always be people who insist on seeing things through a cynical lens. There's no smoke without fire. It sounds convincing, and that's exactly why people are inclined to believe it. I was prepared for this, and more than that, I have plenty of people who trust me and reach out to me, so it's not like I'm drowning in despair. But still, it leaves behind an uncomfortable feeling, like a tiny fishbone caught in my throat. When I brought up something similar with Satoshi, he warned me, watch yourself. Those rumors were already bad enough, and now there's another one going around about how you managed to win over Ikijo-san, the school idol. A lot of guys are jealous of you. And the worst part? You haven't even done anything wrong, which makes it even more frustrating for me. People who believe in that kind of gossip don't care about the truth. Once they latch onto something that suits them, they refuse to let go. No matter how much everyone else tries to deny it. It's probably best to keep my distance from people who are set on doubting me. Honestly, going out of your way to make someone hear bad things about themselves is pretty messed up. No point in dwelling on it. Maybe I'll stop by the bookstore and check out some new releases. Lately, I've been so busy that it feels unreal how I used to visit the bookstore almost every day during summer break. I ended up buying a lot. There are always so many new books coming out that even a short time away from the bookstore leaves me surprised at how many titles I don't recognize. Realizing I was about to be late for my promised meeting, I thought about running, but just then, a black luxury car pulled up right in front of me. It looked similar to Ari-san's car, but the license plate was different. The window slowly rolled down, revealing a familiar face smiling at me. It's been a while, Eiji-kun. That voice, it was nostalgic, gentle, and one I hadn't heard in years. Letting my guard down, I gave a somewhat awkward smile. It's been a while, Uncle Ugaki. He was my father's best friend and closest ally, someone who had cared for me since I was little. A high-ranking politician, a key figure in the government. And the father of the girl I love. I'll give you a ride home. I'd like to talk to you after all this time. His expression wasn't the stern one he wore while working, but the kind and familiar face I had always known. All right. I have a lot I want to talk about too, so I'll take you up on that. Chapter 232 Aono and Ugaki. I sat in the back seat of a luxury car. Uncle Ugaki glanced at me from the side. Where should I start? There's so much I want to say, so much I want to ask, yet I can't find the first words. It's been a while. Ari-san has been taking good care of me. These were the only words I managed to squeeze out. It felt strange to greet him not as my father's old friend, whom I knew well, but as my lover's father. My daughter has been in your care. Kyowa tells me a lot about you. How's your mother and brother? They're doing well. Uncle, you should come visit sometime too, like in the old days. Back when my father was alive, Uncle Ugaki used to visit our house several times a month for discussions. I don't have the face to see you all. As a friend, I failed to notice your father's condition, and as a comrade, I pushed him too hard. That's not. To be honest, I even feel guilty about you and Ari being together. Is it really okay for my family to rely on you even more? The thought terrifies me. At first, I didn't understand what he was saying. Then it hit me, he was still carrying the weight of my father's death. Ari-san had nothing to do with my father's sudden passing. If anything, she saved me. When I was being bullied over false accusations, the first person to reach out and help me was your daughter. I deliberately avoided mentioning what Ari-san had intended to do on that rooftop that day. She wouldn't want me to, and I didn't want my father's death to be tied to this. I see. But I believe Ari was also saved by you. You're the first person outside our family she's ever spoken to about her mother, Hitomi's, death. Even so, Ari-san truly wants to talk to you, uncle. Perhaps I was running away. I thought that if I stayed close to my daughter, it would only deepen her wounds. After the accident, every time she saw me, she would apologize. Even though it wasn't her fault, that was just like her. She probably blamed herself for something that wasn't even a mistake. Uncle, this was the first time I'd seen him so vulnerable. He was always so confident. My father used to say that even the toughest problems could be solved if left in his hands. Well then, let's get to the main topic. The special diet session starting tomorrow is expected to pass the bill that your father and I worked on together. That's why I came to see you one last time. The new policy is built on 3 key pillars, creating a society where people can rise again even after failure, supporting generations who missed opportunities due to economic circumstances, and providing aid to young caregivers and abused children. Finally, I can give a proper report. He exhaled deeply, as if he had finally fulfilled his duty. His expression held both resignation and resolve, as if he had already accepted something inevitable. He was hiding something unpleasant. But it wasn't my place to pry. Not before Ari-san, his own daughter. It's too soon to be saying one last time. At my words, he chuckled. But he wasn't looking at me, he was seeing something else. Probably the lingering shadow of my father. You're right. Please take care of Ari. She's my beloved daughter. I know I sound like a doting parent, but she's a kind girl. And strong, which is why she rarely allows herself to show weakness. But with you, I believe she'll be okay. I've watched you since you were little, Eiji-kun. There's no one more suited to entrust my daughter to than you. I was genuinely happy to be recognized by my lover's parent to this extent. But this felt like, sensing my thoughts, he spoke. It sounds like a will, doesn't it? I must have said something strange, but the words that should have followed, forget I said that, never came. That silence made his true feelings painfully clear. No. If I let him leave like this, Ari-san would regret it for the rest of her life. I couldn't let that happen. You can't just show up out of nowhere and say something like that, it's not fair. At my words, he smiled. That's true. Without hesitation, I made a promise. Once the bill passes, let's visit my father's grave together. Otherwise, this won't truly be over, will it? When that time comes, I'll give you my proper answer as well. Perhaps because he had intended to end things here, he hesitated for a rare moment before nodding slightly. All right, you have to promise. I pressed the point, almost like a demand. He nodded gently, and then, the car arrived at my house. Thank you for driving me home. As the car door opened automatically, I stepped out, turned to face him properly, and bowed. Oh, I almost forgot. Congratulations on your novel. Your father would be so proud of you. For the first time in a long while, his voice carried the warmth it once had. I could only nod. Slowly, the car pulled away. This isn't fair. Cursing the gods, I returned home, to where everyone was waiting for me. Chapter 233 Eiji's Resolve. I rejoin everyone and start eating dinner. Tonight's dinner is demi-glace Hamburg steak and crab cream croquettes, a popular lunch favorite. The croquettes have a crispy, golden shell that gives way to a soft, fluffy center. The demi-glace sauce has been simmered to a deep, mellow richness, with a touch of fresh cream adding a smooth, velvety depth. It was delicious. Ari-san smiles contentedly. Rather than eating in the restaurant, we're having our meal together in the kitchen. It feels more relaxed that way. I'm glad. When I smile, she nods. I deliberately avoid bringing up our earlier conversation with Uncle Ugaki until we finish eating. It's not that I want to hide anything, I just want us to enjoy this meal together. Hey, just as I'm about to speak, Ari-san seems to sense it and speaks first. Senpai met my father, didn't you? Her expression darkens, just slightly. You knew. Not exactly. But while I was waiting at the shop, I saw my father's car. Then senpai came back almost immediately, so I had a feeling. I see. Yeah, he stopped me on my way out and offered me a ride. Ari-san nods gently. I wondered if she might be upset, but it seems my concern was unnecessary. Do you remember what I said when we first met, senpai? Why now, of all times? My chest tightens. Yeah. I remember. Back then, I assumed she had said it because I had intruded on her just as she was about to end her life. But now, my father had mentioned senpai to me before. We'd never met, but he told me that his best friend's son was a year ahead of me in school. He even showed me a picture once. I only vaguely remembered your face, but when I saw you, I knew you were connected to him. The pieces start falling into place. So that's how it was. At first, I thought you were just watching over me on my father's orders. But I realized right away that wasn't the case. No one could fake something like that. And when I listened to senpai's words, I remembered the rumors. That's when I understood, it was just a coincidence. Hearing this, a small question forms in my mind. But you never felt any hostility or suspicion toward me, did you? Ari-san lets out a small, self-mocking laugh. It's strange, isn't it? That day on the rooftop, the moment I saw your face, for some reason, I felt relieved. Even though I thought you might be connected to my father, I wasn't afraid. It was odd. But now, after everything you've done for me, I finally understand. I didn't want to die. I was just waiting for someone to reach out to me. Her words cut deep. And in that moment, I realize, there's something she hasn't put into words. Or maybe, something even she hasn't realized yet. Maybe, just maybe, Ari-san, a part of her had been hoping that her father still cared about her. That, in some small way, he was still watching over her. I can't say for sure. But if that's the case, then this misunderstanding is unbearably cruel. What did my father say? I don't think I should say too much. Some things are meant to be spoken between them. It's not my place to interfere. He was worried about you. Her eyes widened slightly. Then, after a moment, she lets out a quiet, wry laugh. Senpai, you're too kind. I don't know how much of it got through to her. But I want her to understand. And so, I make my declaration. There's still a story I haven't finished writing. I'll complete it as soon as I can. And when it's done, will you be the first to read it? I don't know if this will change anything. Maybe it won't. But if there's even the slightest chance, this is the only way I know how. Ugaki's perspective. The secretary glances at me through the rearview mirror. Are you sure you don't want to see the young lady? For a fleeting moment, I waver. But then, I push the feeling down. It's fine. I've entrusted Ari to the one person I trust most. Closing my eyes, I let old memories wash over me, then lock them away once more. Tomorrow, the final battle begins. Chapter 234, Bugaki and the Prime Minister's Confrontation. Ugaki's perspective. As the car carried me toward the National Diet, I closed my eyes, seeking whatever rest I could. There was still work left undone, matters that required my attention, but I couldn't afford to push myself too hard. At the very least, I had to stay alive long enough to see that bill passed. Still, I felt at ease. I had no solid proof, but I believed I could entrust Eiji-kun with Ari. That thought alone was enough to bring my wife peace. After all, such a kind-hearted boy had become the one to love our precious daughter. A quiet wish I once harbored had now become reality. As I let myself bask in that gentle sense of relief, my phone rang. The caller ID displayed one name, the Prime Minister. Yes, this is Ugaki. Ha, you really went and did it this time, Ugaki-kun. I could hear the smug amusement in his voice, and with it came an ominous sense of foreboding. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. My informant in the prefectural police told me everything. Seems you've been meeting with Kondo behind my back. I know full well you intend to betray me. So, he had caught on to my movements. The moment I had long anticipated had finally arrived. I take it denying it wouldn't change your mind. My voice carried a faint hint of levity, though beneath it lay years of accumulated disdain. Don't you dare mock me. That line should be mine. I assure you, I'm not joking. Listen closely. You think you've got the upper hand just because you've uncovered my scandal, but you're mistaken. That bill you've been pushing forward, if my entire faction turns against it, we can kill it with ease. And when that happens, your political career will be over. If you plan to expose my scandal, topple my administration, and take my seat as Prime Minister, I'll tell you now, you're wasting your time. The sheer scale of this scandal will drag public trust into the mud, and any administration that follows will crumble in no time. Your dream of passing that bill will never come true. Withdraw quietly while you still can. A blatant threat. I had anticipated this. That was why I had kept Ari away from me, to shield her from the inevitable fallout. And now, I could be certain it hadn't been in vain. I see, but to think he truly believed my action stemmed from nothing more than ambition, frankly, it was disappointing. I had once thought him a man of at least some caliber, yet now, he was nothing more than a desperate despot, clinging to power with white-knuckle desperation. Now that you understand, it's time to give up. Apologize now, and I'll let this slide. So, he expected me to bow my head to him? I see. This was the final stage of a man consumed by vanity and paranoia. That was enough. Is that all you have to say? Silence, the ultimate insult to a man in power. Nothing wounded a ruler's pride more than having his words ignored, his authority dismissed outright. Do you even realize what you're doing? Do you think I don't? A long, suffocating silence stretched between us. From this moment on, our battle would be a full-fledged struggle for political survival. No one, not a single soul, would be allowed to stand in the way of our dream. And this man, this wretched tyrant, was the one responsible for my wife's death, the one who had carved an unhealable wound into my daughter's heart. Him, I would never forgive. You've disappointed me, Ugaki. That's my line. I could picture his face, red with fury, veins bulging as he clenched his teeth. There was no turning back now. Without another word, I cut the call. The final battle had begun. That evening, Uncle Minomi came over for dinner. I walked over to his seat. Oh? What's the matter, Eiji-kun? A quiet smile tugged at my lips as I spoke. Uncle, tell me everything you know about my father and Uncle Ugaki. Chapter 235, Eiji sets his plan in motion and the Prime Minister's machinations. I compile everything I heard from my mother and Uncle Minomi into my notebook. There's so much I need to investigate. I may never grasp the full truth, but I want to get as close as possible to my father's reality, to the true nature of his relationship with Uncle Ugaki. The only thing I can do is write a novel, a human drama inspired by the bond between my father and Uncle Ugaki. How did my father truly see him? What emotions lay beneath the surface? I want to capture it all as faithfully as possible, to give shape to the truth in words. By reliving their experiences through my writing, I hope to get closer to understanding Uncle Ugaki's feelings. That's why I'm gathering as much information as I can about the incident that entangled Ari-san. I've combed through newspaper archives and pieced together a timeline of the trial, which is still ongoing. I've collected posts from social media, fragments of public sentiment from that time. I will reconstruct it all within my story. After the extraordinary diet session, I have a promise to meet with Uncle Ugaki again. My research tells me that these sessions typically last around 70 days. The exact duration depends on the deliberations, but at best, I have 2 months. And with school in the mix, my time is even more limited. Midterms are coming up, too. I have to research, write, and finish everything before the deadline. No exceptions. This could change lives, maybe even all of our lives. That's why I have to give it my all. No amount of time will ever be enough. I submerge myself in this world, dive deep into my thoughts, and surrender to the overwhelming flood of information. In a state of complete immersion, I refine the structure of the story, over and over again. And then, on paper, I begin carving a new story into existence. Prime Minister's office, Prime Minister's perspective. That little bass underscored. I slam the phone down with all my might, seething with fury as I sink into the Prime Minister's chair. This chair, this throne, is the proof of my victories. The symbol of every battle I've fought and won in the brutal world of politics. I won't let some upstart snatch it from me. Ugaki may be young, but he is sharp. Brilliant, even. He must have something up his sleeve. But I am the highest authority in this country. Once this extraordinary diet session is over, that man will step down as Secretary General. And his entire inner circle? They'll all be purged, cast out to eat cold rice in political exile. I've always loved saying this to the losers. I'm not angry anymore. To the untrained ear, it sounds like an act of magnanimity. But in politics, those words carry a far crueler meaning. I'm not angry anymore. So as the loser, you'd better come crawling to apologize. Refuse, and your political career is dead. I've seen it happen time and again, former rivals, trembling with humiliation, bowing their heads before me. Just thinking about it makes me reach for the sake bottle beside me, taking a slow sip. And even if a scandal does break, I will never be arrested. As a sitting member of the Diet, I am protected by parliamentary immunity. During a session, I cannot be detained without the Assembly's approval. And even outside of session, I can pressure the Minister of Justice, invoke my authority, and forcibly shut down any investigation. That approval will never come. Because I am the leader of the ruling party, power comes from numbers. The great leaders before me knew that well. The majority rules over the minority. That is the fundamental principle of politics. And the one who commands the majority is the victor. The victor alone dictates what is right. To protect myself, I will do anything. To preserve my throne, I will go to any lengths. That brat has underestimated my hunger for power. That's why he dares to play such a reckless game. Perhaps he seeks revenge for the tunnel accident. But a naive fool who can't see others as mere stepping stones to his own success won't last long in this world. Kondo was a useful pawn, but he's outlived his purpose. I've already prepared everything to pin all the blame on him. Even if Ugaki sets off the scandal like a bomb, Kondo will take the full hit. I will never lose. I will crush Ugaki's dreams, shatter his ambitions, and drive him to his knees in apology. Now, let the political war begin. Chapter 236, Ari's True Feelings. Ikijo Ari's Perspective. Senpai dives deep into the world of creation. I can only watch from behind. But once he starts working, his focus is so intense it almost worries me as he types away at his keyboard. I've heard that many people write on their smartphones, but Senpai seems to prefer using a computer. We made a promise, I would be the first to read his finished novel. No matter how curious I get, I must not disturb him. I decide to wait in the guest room. Ever since that day, I've been spending most of my time at his house. Even his mother told me, until you feel settled, don't be alone. Stay here and eat with us for now. They were all worried about me. Since Senpai is busy, I borrow the desk in the guest room to pass the time with my schoolwork. I heard this room used to belong to his father. The bookshelf, lined with professional cookbooks and old notebooks, feels almost sacred, like a sanctuary within this home. It's strange. I'm alone in someone else's house, and yet, I feel at peace. Not long ago, seeing my father again after so many years had thrown my heart into turmoil. But now, thanks to Senpai and his family's kindness, I feel calm. I'm out of lead for my mechanical pencil. I don't have any refills left either. Senpai's mother had mentioned that there were supplies in the desk drawer and that I could use them freely, so I decided to take her up on the offer. When I open the drawer, I find an assortment of stationery inside. She must have prepared them for me. Living alone for so long has made me vulnerable to this kind of warmth, to the kindness of a family. My chest tightens, and I quickly press a handkerchief to my eyes before the tears can fall. Taking a deep breath, I steady myself. As I reach for the lead, my fingers brush against something at the back of the drawer. It's smooth to the touch. Curious, I pull it out. It's an old photograph. Laminated, probably to keep it from deteriorating. It must have been important to someone. The picture captures my father, smiling alongside two other men. To my father's left stands Mayor Minomi. To his right is likely the former owner of this room. He looks somewhat like Senpai. Is this what Senpai will look like when he's older? This photo was probably taken around 10 years ago. My father looks like he was in his 30s at the time. I wonder, 10 or more years from now, in the future, will I have become a kind and wonderful woman, like my mother, standing by his side? I can see it so clearly, a future where I'm still with him, even 10 years from now. That's probably the biggest change in me since meeting him. The incident with my mother had made me painfully aware that the future is unpredictable. Before I met him, the word tomorrow only brought me suffering. But now, thinking about the future, about tomorrow, fills me with happiness. I really have changed, and because I've changed, I finally feel ready to say it. The words I had swallowed down for so long, believing they would only bring pain if spoken. I used to think that putting them into words would only make things harder. That saying them out loud would make it hurt even more. But now, I know that's not true. Maybe meeting him made me weaker. That thought used to scare me, but now, I understand, I've actually become stronger. That's why I can finally say it. I want to see my father smile again. I couldn't hold it in. Pressing my handkerchief firmly to my eyes to keep the tears from staining the photo, I sobbed in silence. At last, I said it. For so long, all I could do was apologize, but finally. Chapter 237, Aono Eiji's father. I've been thinking about the day my father collapsed. That day. My father had been preparing for a volunteer soup kitchen. It was the peak of the busy season, so he was probably already worn out. Still, volunteering was like a calling for him, his life's work. He always threw himself into it with a strong sense of purpose. That's why. I believed it was the way he would have wanted to go. At least, that's how I've always seen it. Uncle Minomi called it a death in the line of duty. After the funeral, he arranged for my father to be honored by the city as a person of merit. The certificate of commendation still hangs in the restaurant to this day. I once asked my mother what she felt when my father died. I was devastated. I still wanted him to see our 2 boys grow up, and I was scared about what would happen to the restaurant. I'm grateful your brother stepped up to take over, but, to be honest, a part of me felt relief, too. I think maybe your father passed away feeling fulfilled. As she said that, my mother gently wiped away her tears. When I asked her, fulfilled, because he was loved by so many people. He got to do what he loved, and people appreciated him for it. So many came to the funeral. His life was short, yes, but it was a happy one. I truly believe that. Even so, I think my mother still wished she'd had more time with him. I asked my brother, too. That day, yeah. Honestly, I can't really remember it. Everything I'd been agonizing over just vanished in an instant. You'd been agonizing? Yeah. I wanted to take over the restaurant someday, but I was also thinking it might be good to train somewhere else first. One of my teachers at vocational school even said he'd write me a letter of recommendation, if that's the path I wanted to take. I hadn't known that. And then, a cold fear crept in, had I, without realizing it, shut the door on my brother's future. But he seemed to pick up on my worry right away. But I've never once regretted my choice. I got to watch my little brother grow up, almost like a parent would. And I got to protect the restaurant I love. My cooking, too, it got better through real, hands-on struggle. Sure, I wish I could have learned more from father, but I think he'd be proud of the decision I made. I really can't thank my brother enough. He's always been someone I look up to. I'm sure father would be proud of you too, Nii-san. When I said that, he smiled and said, I hope so. Still, I feel like I need to apologize to you, Eiji. And to father. With everything that happened with school, I didn't do anything a parent should have done. I didn't even notice you were hurting. I failed as your stand-in parent. Before he could finish, I rushed to shake my head. That's not true. It's because you've been here for me that I've learned so much. That I've even been able to chase after my dreams. How could I ever reject someone who's done so much for me? And I don't want anyone else to reject you, either. My brother looked at me, startled, and then smiled through tears he was trying not to shed. Then it was Uncle Minomi's turn to speak. I know your father passed on feeling fulfilled. But as someone older, I can't help but regret taking away his chance to watch his children grow up. I was the one who invited him to volunteer, after all. The thought that I may have hastened his death, that regret will never go away, but my father was truly grateful that you invited him. I don't want anyone to deny that. You're right. That's the truth. And you've become such a good person, which only deepens my regret. I destroyed something irreplaceable, a happy family. Maybe I won't fully understand how he feels, not yet. Maybe once I grow older, build a family of my own, I'll see it more clearly, but for now, what matters is that I try to understand. Even a little. The TV was airing a breaking news segment on the emergency session of the National Diet. The conflict between the Prime Minister and Secretary General Ugaki was intensifying. The ruling party had begun making moves to crush a bill that Uncle Ugaki had spearheaded. Reports said the Secretary General's side was losing ground. But there's no way Uncle Ugaki would go down so easily. Not a chance. Especially not when I think about Ara-san. Watching her, I believe it even more. I just wanted to talk to him. Even for a moment. With that hope, and not expecting much, I called Uncle Ugaki's cell. The call connected almost immediately. Chapter 238, Father and Daughter. The phone connected after just one ring. Eiji-kun? What's the matter? His voice was tinged with fatigue, and yet his tone remained warm, gentle, familiar. It was hard to believe this was the same man whose face had dominated the top headlines day after day. Do you have a moment to talk? I had braced myself for rejection. But instead, he said, there's no way I could turn you down. I'll listen, whatever it is. Of course. He was still the same kind-hearted uncle I remembered. And that made it all the more painful to understand. How could someone so gentle turn his back on his own daughter? I could reason through it, to a point. But wherever those thoughts led, I found only sorrow. How could the world allow something like this? I'll keep this brief. Uncle, what kind of man was my father to you? And when he passed away, what did you feel? I asked as calmly as I could. But he went silent. Minutes passed in that quiet before, slowly, as though stringing together each word with care, he began to speak. I always thought, if someone ever asked me about him, your father, it would feel like an interrogation. I didn't expect it to be so gentle. You're wrong if you think you owe us anything, Uncle. You might carry that weight, but we don't. If anything, we're just lonely. We wish you'd come visit. We miss you. Would you come back to us? I can't. Not yet. I can't let it end here. But I'll answer your question. To me, your father was the very image of happiness. He was the first true friend I ever had, someone I could trust, with nothing to gain. I was raised in a world where it was never clear who was friend and who was foe. Except for my wife, your father was the first person who truly understood me. We threw ourselves into volunteer work, spent hours debating how to change the world. Those days, those were the happiest of my life. The happiest? Then, what about now? I couldn't bring myself to ask that aloud. I could only imagine the weight on his heart, losing both Arisan's mother and my father almost at the same time. I didn't have the right to push further. Yes, it felt like a late-blooming youth. I was completely absorbed in something I loved. Because of that time, I can keep moving forward without hesitation. But when he died, it felt like I'd lost half of myself. And I blamed myself. I pushed him too hard. Like I said before, it was his choice. I know that. I do. But I'm a parent, too. I can't ignore the truth that I brought limits down on his dreams, on your future. I made your brother carry a burden he shouldn't have had to. I had no answer for that. But even so, I knew without doubt, for my father had been happy. That truth, I would never let go of. Even so, we are happy. That was all I could offer. The fullest truth I had. Uncle Ugaki fell silent once more. Why? Why would a man who cared so deeply about us, who thought so carefully about our future, reject his own beloved daughter, Arisan? If this was fate's doing, then the gods were far too cruel. I see. Just hearing that means the world to me. It's a comfort I didn't know I needed. I could feel it, this conversation was drawing to a close. But still, I took one more step forward. Uncle, what do you truly feel about Arisan? I was ready for him to hang up. But he didn't. His reply came, sincere and unflinching. I've caused Ari a great deal of pain. But the thought of making her suffer more by being near her. I couldn't bear that. I was on the verge of tears, but still I pressed again. This time, his response came without hesitation. I still love Ari. That has never changed. That's the one thing I can never lie about. After that, he said nothing more. I told him I was writing a novel. That once it was finished, I'd send him the manuscript. I wanted him to read it. Then, I hung up the phone. There was no more running. I turned back to my draft, heart steady, and began to write the final lines. Chapter 239, The Novel and the Memory. I was walking home alone from school. My novel was nearly finished. Just knowing that filled me with a rush of energy. But then, a police car came to a halt right in front of me. A man in a suit stepped out. You're Aono Eiji, correct? I'm Furuta, the officer handling your case. May I have a moment of your time? He was someone who had spoken to me on several occasions before. Is this about the investigation? No, it's a separate matter. But, there's something I need you to hear. Ugaki's perspective. The clash with the Prime Minister had reached its boiling point. The party leader and his second-in-command were locked in a full-blown struggle for power. The media was abuzz, unable to speak of anything else. Whoever lost here would lose it all, their entire political life. The fight had come down to whether we could pass our bill. The Prime Minister's camp was determined to crush it, no matter what. Since we were submitting it as a legislative proposal from the Diet itself, the Cabinet had no hand in its introduction. Even so, they would almost certainly use their numerical majority during deliberation to vote it down. If they succeeded in killing the bill, then everything I'd endured to stay alive up to now would be meaningless. I would destroy them, by any means necessary. Yet still, the media relentlessly churned out headlines painting us at a disadvantage. My phone vibrated. It was Eiji-kun. He'd sent over a PDF. It must be the novel he'd mentioned before. I had no time to spare, but even so, I knew I had to read it. I downloaded the file and opened the manuscript without delay. It read like a personal memoir, a story that traced the life of his father. The research was meticulous, the writing steeped in care. Though the names had been changed, it was immediately clear that his father was the central figure. As I read, it felt as though I were drifting back through time, back to those days when the people I cherished were still alive, and life had yet to lose its warmth. I came to the part about the whiskey, how we'd talked of opening it once our children turned 20. He'd bought bottles from the years our kids were born, and he'd been looking forward to the day they'd drink together. One bottle, I imagine, was opened. But the other may never be uncorked. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away either. I'd tucked it deep into a cupboard, knowing full well how hopelessly stubborn I could be. Then, the story turned to the morning he passed away. Though it was a holiday, and despite how busy life already was, he'd gotten up early to help prepare food for the soup kitchen. But then, without warning, he collapsed in pain. As he lay there, remembering his family, he thought, even in the face of death, that he had lived a happy life. And gradually, his awareness slipped away. If only he'd been able to share that whiskey with his son. Those were his final words, and with that, the story came to its end. The moment I finished reading, I shut off my phone. I was overcome with emotion. No, he wouldn't have said something like that. It's only fiction, I told myself, trying to quiet the stirrings in my heart. But the truth, that it was Eiji-kun who had written this, tightened like a vice around my chest. He told me he wanted to share a drink with me, in his father's place. And just hearing that, it was enough. Enough to make me feel like something inside me had been saved. As I turned my phone back on to write a reply, I noticed a new message waiting for me. Chapter 240, A Wish from Ari. After parting ways with Furuta-san, I made my way home beneath the deepening twilight. A faint heaviness settled in my chest. But even so, my path forward was finally clear. When I arrived, Ari-san was already waiting for me. You're late. Her voice carried a thread of concern. Though the storm of bullying had begun to quiet, it was only natural she would worry if I came home too late. Sorry. I ran into someone I know, and they stopped me for a bit. I ended up listening to their story. Did I keep you waiting long? Ari-san shook her head, a gentle smile softening her features. That's fine. I really didn't wait long. Maybe 30 minutes or so. I asked the two of them to hold off on making dinner so it wouldn't get cold before you got home. My mom had been keeping an eye on Ari-san, inviting her to join our meal so she wouldn't be left alone. I had also told Ari-san, without hesitation, that she was welcome to stay over anytime she needed. Got it. I'll go call them. As I turned toward the kitchen, I felt a tentative tug on the back of my uniform. You in? It was rare to see her so hesitant, it caught me off guard. What's wrong? Maybe she had something difficult she wanted to say. I'm sorry. There's something I'd like to talk to you about. Will you hear me out? Ari-san had always struggled with relying on others. That was precisely why she worked so hard, polishing her talents to a brilliant sheen, someone truly worthy of respect. She was so steadfast, it was hard to believe she was younger than me. It was one of the many reasons I loved her. Of course. Just the fact that you want to talk to me makes me really happy, Ari-san. The trust she placed in me warmed my heart. Thank you. It's things like that about you, really. Ari-san let out a soft, self-deprecating smile. Then, I'm going to let myself be selfish, okay? I answered her without even a breath of hesitation. Of course. Standing before me, she closed her eyes for a brief moment, then lifted them again, gazing straight into mine. Please help me. I want to be a real parent and child with my father again. Not this hollow, masked relationship we have now. I want us to be able to laugh together again, like we used to. Leaning into my shoulder, she wept as she poured out her heart. Please, help me, senpai. There was only one thing I could possibly say to her. Especially when her father was none other than Uncle Ugaki. Both Ari-san and Uncle Ugaki were irreplaceable to me. They clearly cared for each other, yet kept missing each other's hearts. I didn't want to stand by and watch it happen anymore. Of course I'll help. I'll do anything I can. I don't ever want to see you cry again. I want the people I love to be smiling. Thank you. I love you. As if the dam of her emotions had shattered, she broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Just as she had once done for me, I stayed by her side, silently supporting her. Maybe now, at last, I had become someone worthy of her. I knew all too well the immeasurable comfort of having someone stand beside you when the world felt too heavy to bear. And she wasn't alone. My mom, my brother, they would all be there for her. Even Uncle Minomi would, without question. If we explained things, Takayama Eiji-sensei and the principal surely would too. Satoshi and Endo would be there as well. I pictured the faces of everyone who had reached out to me during the bullying ordeal. And at the heart of it all, there was always her. I held my beloved close, with all the strength I had, in front of the Prime Minister's residence. Media perspective. Now, regarding the ongoing clash between the Prime Minister and Secretary General Ogaki that has roiled the political world, there has been a significant development today. My voice brimmed with barely contained excitement as I reported the scene. Just moments ago, Secretary General Ogaki entered the Prime Minister's residence. It appears they are making final adjustments concerning the controversial bill that sparked their conflict. According to a senior lawmaker I spoke with, it's expected that Secretary General Ogaki's side will be offering something close to a full capitulation. It seems the situation has reached its final stage. Chapter 241, The Final Battle. Prime Minister's Perspective. I summoned Ogaki to the Prime Minister's office and staged the setting for my declaration of victory. Pressure had already begun to fracture his faction, it's only a matter of time before it collapses. Once that happens, the bill he once considered his crowning ambition will be headed straight for rejection. His only way to prevent that outcome is full surrender to our side. If he yields, I'll let the bill pass. But in return, he'll be pushed out of the spotlight, and for all practical purposes, his political life will be over. Who knew it could feel this satisfying, holding the power to decide the fate of someone so gifted? It's a taste of power I should never grow accustomed to. And yet, this is bliss, the kind only the supreme ruler of a nation is ever allowed to feel. The news reports that a web novel, based on a victim's testimony from that collapse incident, is stirring up a major public reaction. That might be his trump card. But if that's the best he's got, it won't be enough to bring me down. There's no conclusive proof. I haven't even read it, but whatever it contains won't reveal any solid evidence. The police are firmly under my control. Even if a reinvestigation begins to build momentum, it will dissolve into ambiguity by the end. I'll hold my grip at the pinnacle of power. And even if I'm forced to vacate this seat, I'll retain the lion's share of influence. For the next 10 years, I'll still be the one calling the shots. Excuse me, Ogaki entered, visibly fatigued. Proof that victory is already within reach. So, have you finally come to apologize? I laid the cruel truth bare, my voice rich with triumph. If he stays the course, he'll lose everything, his comrades, his thirst for revenge, and the cherished bill that was once his dream. I might let him keep one thing. That's the victor's mercy. Ogaki looked as though the words had abandoned him. Very well. But let's be clear, you cannot defeat me. Within the party, we hold an overwhelming majority. And even if you try to mobilize the police, they're ours too. Diet members are protected by parliamentary immunity. And if I order the Minister of Justice to invoke command authority, the entire investigation can be shut down. You have no path to victory. You may lose your political career, but surrendering here is your best option. He winced. The face of a beaten man. No matter how brilliant, anyone who dares defy me ends up the same. So your trump card is a detective named Furuta, is it? Oh? So he figured that out. But knowing won't save him. Furuta? Never heard of him. No reason to hand him my trump card on a silver platter. His neck is already in my grasp. I know where his best friend's son is, and his own daughter. If he understands I'm in a position to control them, then unconditional surrender is his only option. I see. There's nothing sweeter than watching this man fall into despair. Even someone as formidable as Ogaki can't surpass me. That fact has now been made clear. I'll ask one final time. Accept our offer and surrender completely. I delivered the final ultimatum. His hands were trembling. That's the body of a man standing at the edge of defeat. Do you really think this is what victory looks like? So, he's still clinging to his last thread of hope. TCH enough delusions. Your defeat is sealed. At those words, Ogaki, his face tight with bitterness, suddenly smiled, calm and unshaken. Then he spoke again. That reaction confirms it. I've already won. It's time. Rising with purpose, Ogaki picked up the TV remote and changed the channel. On screen, a major scoop was breaking. Now then, Prime Minister. Shall we begin? Real politics. The man before me smiled, exuding unmistakable triumph. Chapter 242, The Collapse of Malice. Ugaki's perspective. At last, I had the Prime Minister backed into a corner. But he wasn't just any opponent, he was the most powerful man in the country. Bringing him down meant clearing hurdle after ruthless hurdle. I arrived at the Prime Minister's residence with every piece in place, every preparation complete. I turned on the television. The truth about the accident, the one I'd leaked, was being broadcast as a major exclusive. We now have shocking new information about the XX tunnel collapse. It turns out the company responsible for maintenance and inspection was owned by Councillor Kondo, the same politician previously mired in scandal for trying to suppress news of his son's bullying incident. That same company secured the bid at a suspiciously low price, and appears to have carried out dangerously substandard work. One revelation after another, the full extent of the truth I'd uncovered was now being reported across the nation. The Prime Minister froze, trembling, as if he couldn't comprehend why this was being aired. As if reality itself was slipping through his grasp. Furthermore, we discovered that the funds saved through the shoddy construction may have been funneled as slush money into the Prime Minister's faction. This has the makings of a political corruption case that could rival the scale and shock of the Showa Denko and Lockheed scandals. The footage shifted again, this time showing prosecutors from the Special Investigation Department raiding Kondo's company, as well as the home and office of the faction's money handler. The surprise attack had landed flawlessly. In truth, the Minister of Justice had already switched sides. I'd asked him to withhold the details of the investigation, and in return, I promised him adequate compensation. The Prime Minister's blind faith in his control over the police and prosecution had quietly become a noose around his own neck. No doubt, he understood now. That news broadcast would have made the minister's betrayal clear. Even so, the pathetic old man before me was surely scrambling to summon every countermeasure he could imagine. Even if we had the Justice Minister on our side, the man who controlled cabinet appointments still sat right in front of me. He might attempt something drastic, dismissing our minister, assuming the position himself, and invoking his command authority to shut down the investigation. That's why we needed a countermeasure just as bold. And the final key to that was the novel Eiji had written, A Confession of Love, woven with truth. Now then, Prime Minister. Shall we get down to politics? I thrust a blade, figurative, but no less pointed, at the very source of my wife's death, seated right before me. Impressive, Ugaki. But in the end, this was only a sneak attack. Numbers are power. And I still hold every final decision. Political authority remains with me. Besides, can you really say you don't care what happens to your late friend's children, or your own daughter? He played his trump card. But I had to end this before he could lay it down. You mean the prefectural police, the one centered around your trusted man Furuta? I'm afraid he's joined our side as well. Some of the leaked materials in that report, only the police could have had access to them. You were the naked emperor, Prime Minister. Your power is already gone. Why? His eyes flew open, filled with disbelief. Once, they had radiated menace. Now, their power seemed drained, as though even the fire behind them had gone cold. You'll understand when you see the next report. The broadcast moved on, now reading a statement from the leader of the largest opposition party. In light of the credible nature of these revelations, we've determined that the current ruling party can no longer be trusted with governance. Our party intends to submit a vote of no confidence in the cabinet after today's bill deliberation. The anchor, clearly flustered, rushed to follow up after the clip. Reports were now predicting a mass defection from the ruling party, particularly among its younger members. And the vote of no confidence was now expected to pass. The once mighty man before me, who had ruled from the nation's peak of power, now looked completely lost. Just moments ago, the numbers had been on his side. Now, those same numbers had turned against him with a vengeance. Of course he couldn't grasp what was happening. If the no-confidence vote passed, the Prime Minister would lose his hold on power. Losing the majority would mean even dissolving the Diet wouldn't protect him. Parliamentary immunity would be gone. And even if the cabinet resigned en masse, with only a minority remaining, the Diet would not stand in the way of his arrest. The command authority he had dangled so confidently before was no longer his to wield. All he could do now was sit in the Prime Minister's chair. And even that had only hours left. Eiji-kun's novel made no mention of the conspiracy. That was for the best. It kept them from having to risk their lives on this treacherous road. But we had succeeded in reigniting public attention on the accident. And the fact that it was Eiji-kun, the boy who had once been a victim of that bullying scandal, who wrote the novel, gave it undeniable weight. Now, with the spotlight fixed on the case, the truth would come to light. It was obvious to anyone which side stood to gain. The novel's widespread attention became a powerful tool in persuading the opposition. With victory all but secured, support began flooding in like an avalanche. I, an Eiji-kun, had created the perfect opening for me. And Furuta, too. I believe this was a wish made real. This wretched old man, the very heart of malice, was now being brought down by the hopes of a new generation. The venom of the old world ends here. It has to. Not brute force, but the soft power of the pen had driven the most powerful man in the nation into a corner. There's no irony quite like it. Let's make a deal, Ugaki-kun. I'll step down and give you the Prime Minister's seat. I'll pass the bill. I'll give you money, whatever it takes. So please, just help me, persistent, as always. He was now begging me, the man he'd just branded an enemy. Prime Minister. Weren't you the one who taught me that numbers are power? This is politics, isn't it? I left him with those parting words and turned my back on the scene. All that remained was a pitiful old man, crying and screaming, stripped of everything. From the summit of power, his fall into arrest was already set in motion. Wait! Please, wait! I'm begging you. I heard his desperate pleas at my back as I slowly walked away from the battlefield. Chapter 243, Furuta's True Intentions. A few days ago. Ugaki's perspective. Our covert dealings with the opposition party were nearing their climax. Though they showed interest in our proposal, they insisted on something conclusive before committing. That was only natural. After all, they were preparing to challenge the most powerful figure in the country. Failure wouldn't just mean retreat, it would mean their own political demise. That's precisely why they demanded certainty, and I understood that. But in this world, I've never believed in absolutes. Finding such a thing is like chasing smoke. I leaned back into the office sofa, letting my weary body sink into the cushions. My thoughts refused to align. The novel, crafted around Eiji-kun's earnest confession of love, had sparked a wave of public attention. The tide of opinion was shifting. Voices were beginning to ask whether the incident deserved a re-investigation. Yet despite it all, we remained just one step short, missing something vital. A knock at the door broke the silence. I wasn't expecting any visitors today. Raised voices filtered through. My secretary was arguing with someone. As I said, if you don't have an appointment, she was clearly trying to block their way. It's because I don't have an appointment that I can speak freely, came a breezy, offhand voice. Familiar somehow, though I couldn't place it. I see. That explained it. I rose and opened the door. Standing there was Furuta-san from the prefectural police. Ugaki-sensei, it's been a while. The easy smile on his face made me smirk in spite of myself. I turned to the secretary and explained that I'd like a private word with him. She left, closing the door behind her. I still couldn't tell if he was friend or foe. But he was sharp. Razor sharp. And if he'd chosen to come now, there had to be a reason. He had brought something that could seriously affect my next move, or perhaps a message that would. I retrieved a can coffee from the office fridge and handed it to him. He accepted it with a grateful grin, clearly pleased. Furuta-san, are you on duty today? First, I needed to measure the distance between us. Was this visit official or personal? The distinction mattered. I'm off duty today, so, it's personal. And if he came all this way on his day off, the matter must be serious. Then I'll be direct. What's your purpose here? I didn't know if he was friend or enemy. That's why it was better to ask plainly. A question that blunt will usually provoke some hesitation, even from a seasoned liar. But Furuta didn't even blink. If I said I came to help you, would that make it clear? He replied, handing me a clear file stuffed with documents. Banking records that trace secret funds linked to Councillor Kondo. Copies of the bidding papers for the tunnel where the accident had occurred. These were materials the police should have kept under lock and key. Documents that exposed what could only be called the Prime Minister's Achilles heel. The Prime Minister had pressured the prefectural police to suppress this evidence. No, more than that. After the accident, the suppression had already been carried out. Even when I tried to investigate, someone had already wiped the trail clean. Why? Why do you have this? The first thing I had to consider, was this a trap? If these documents were forged and I published them, I could be the one left holding the grenade. There was precedent. The opposition once pursued ruling party corruption with faked evidence, only to watch their top leadership get decimated in the backlash. My mind raced through its archive, dates, figures, key details. I checked them against what I knew. There were no inconsistencies. Not a single crack. This level of precision, these had to be the originals. Why? Why did he bring this here? If something this damning leaked, the hunt for a traitor would begin immediately. It might be kept out of the press, sure, but internal punishment, reassignment, exile, inevitable. He had brought this to me knowing full well it could cost him everything he'd built. Isn't it obvious? A police officer supposed to be on the side of justice. Even so, why me? You could have made it public right after the accident. Or gone to another lawmaker? Furuta responded with a quiet smile. There's no one but you who can deliver the final blow to that monster. If we leave it to some half-baked journalist or weak-willed politician, the Prime Minister will slip through the cracks. But you, I trust you. You're the only one I believe can bring that man down. His expression mirrored my own. A face carved by sorrow. And in that moment, I understood everything. Who did you lose in that accident? He wore the same look I'd worn not long ago. A bitter, amazed smile that said, how did you know? My mother. I see. Just a few short words, and we understood each other completely. Comrades. Then he spoke again. Please leave your daughter and the Aono family to me. I've already coordinated with my colleagues in the prefectural police. Thank you. That's a big help. He finished the coffee in silence, then left the office without another word. Kitchen Aono. I was in the break room, watching the national diet broadcast. Uncle Ugaki's bill had passed. The Prime Minister looked pale. Of course he did. He knew the next move was a vote of no confidence. The camera kept cutting to Uncle Ugaki, facing down the center of power itself. I tightened my resolve once more. It felt like my father was right here beside me. I'll bring Uncle Ugaki back to us. Our reunion is tomorrow. Chapter 244, Ugaki and him, the Aono family grave. Ugaki's perspective. Guess I showed up too early. I let out a slow sigh. The meeting with Eiji-kun wasn't for another 30 minutes. I said I arrived too soon, but truthfully, maybe I just wanted more time to center myself, to calm my heart before it all began. I must look pathetic. Go ahead and laugh if you want. I tossed the words toward my late best friend, a half-hearted jest to fill the silence. Of course, no reply came. I held up the bottle of whiskey I'd brought as a gift. It was aged in sherry casks, the kind he used to love. The flavor had a sweetness like brown sugar, and I remembered how the two of us used to drink it straight after work. Whiskey's a lonely drink without you. I've been alone ever since. They say power makes people lonely, but I never sought that. I just wanted to realize an ideal, to keep the promise I made with him. I poured the whiskey into a small glass I'd brought along. My secretary was driving, so I allowed myself one drink. The sweetness held a trace of raisin, and the malt carried the warmth of toasted bread. Young as it was, the whiskey had a bold, unmistakable character. The bill passed. I did it. I kept our promise. I clinked my glass gently against the one resting before the grave. Unsurprisingly, the whiskey in his didn't move. Maybe, if you were still here, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Maybe I could have shaped love into something else, something better. Unfortunately, I didn't have the kind of power he did, the power to change everything through sheer passion. That's why I calculated the risks and arrived at this outcome. I don't regret it. But I can't say the thought of what if never crosses my mind. Eiji-kun will be here soon. He's grown into a truly admirable young man. Even after going through terrible bullying, he was blessed with friends and mentors who supported him. Remember back then? You joked that Ari might end up becoming Eiji-kun's girlfriend. It was just something you said while we were drinking, but that joke ended up coming true. I let out a wry chuckle. Back then, if I remember right, I said I would never allow it because of how dear my daughter was to me. And yet now, I feel at peace letting Eiji-kun take care of Ai. The irony isn't lost on me. Watch over them, will you? I won't be long behind you. We'll share a drink again soon. It's almost time. I need to compose myself. If not, I won't have the face to meet Eiji-kun. But time, in its own way, can be cruel. If you say things like that, Dad will be sad, you know. At some point, Eiji-kun had come to stand behind me. You were there. Sorry. I overheard. It's fine. No more need for secrets now. After all, he's someone who deserves to know. Uncle, there's somewhere I want to take you. He looked at me with eyes clear as glass, steady and earnest. There was no way I could refuse eyes that pure. All right. I followed his lead. Good. But first, Eiji-kun said that, then quietly cleaned the grave and lit incense for him. I took a stick from his hand and offered it as well. I'm heading out now, Dad. He spoke to him with a strong, unwavering declaration. Chapter 245, Toward Ari. A few days ago. Ari's perspective. Ever since I reached out to Senpai for help, he had stayed right by my side. To be loved, to be cherished, and to feel that irreplaceable sense of security. Having someone by my side who gave me everything I had longed for over these past 2 years filled me with gratitude. Senpai. When I spoke briefly, he simply answered, yeah, I'm really glad I didn't die back then. Looking back now, the choice I made that day seems terrifyingly foolish. But if I hadn't made that choice, I never would have met him. The thought of that is what scares me the most now. I'm stubborn, and I have a hard time asking others for help. If it hadn't been someone as sincere as him, even if I had been found, my heart wouldn't have been saved. I've been regretting it for so long. That day, the day of the accident. It happened because I took a little too much time getting ready, and even though I ended up caught in it, I'd also been a bit harsh with my mom earlier that day. I never imagined anything like that could happen. It was my last chance to talk with her, but I let it slip away. Why did I do that? Why couldn't I? I wanted to stop the words of self-loathing, but they kept spilling out uncontrollably. This is no good. Even though I know I'd be throwing away my mother's feelings too, I still can't stop. Senpai gently embraced me as I wrestled with that unbearable pain. I could never say something like don't regret it. But I can at least share some of your regrets. You've helped me so much, Ari-san. That's why I want to support you too, in whatever way I can. When I heard those words, I couldn't hold it in anymore. My emotions broke loose. I buried myself in his chest and sobbed uncontrollably. I didn't even try to stop. I just kept crying like a baby. Maybe this was the first time I had truly let myself cry since my mother passed away. Inside the car. Ugaki's perspective. I never imagined you were in on it too, Furuta-san. Eiji-kun had shoved me into the car. In the driver's seat sat that detective. Apparently, even he had been part of the setup. I had no idea where this car was headed. Kitchen Aono? Or perhaps that apartment. Most likely, we were going to wherever Ari was. Once I agreed to meet him, I had braced myself for this outcome. There was no use trying to run anymore. Furuta turned on the radio. The car had been silent for a while. Even Eiji-kun, sitting next to me, wore a stern expression. The radio played the news. The Prime Minister's corruption scandal. The suspicion, which started with Councillor Kondo's company, had now spread to the major firms. It was likely an update on the ongoing investigation. At this point, nothing could stop it. Even if the government were dissolved as a last resort, there was no way they could win the election. That power-hungry fiend was being marched down the path of ruin. I would see Ari. But when that moment came, would I still be wearing my mask? Or would the cold, unfeeling mask finally fall away? I couldn't tell, no matter how much I thought about it. Still, today I had to make Ari face reality one more time. As a parent, I never want to see my daughter in pain. But this time is different. Even if I die, Eiji-kun and the others will be there for my beloved daughter. That's why I know she'll be all right. Suddenly, I felt as if a weight had been lifted from my heart. And then, the car arrived at its destination. So, it's here after all. I let out a wry laugh. Even so, when it comes to settling everything, there really is no place more fitting than this. I want Uncle Ugaki to be honest too, and speak from the heart. Eiji-kun was right when he said I couldn't lie in front of my wife's grave. The same probably holds true for Ari as well. Perhaps this meant that, at long last, we as parent and child were ready to confront our true feelings. I'll be right here. It was his way of showing support, but I shook my head. Only you, Eiji-kun. I want you to be the one to witness it. Furuta nodded as if to say he understood. And then, we made our way slowly to the place where my daughter was waiting. Chapter 246, Ari and her father. Ugaki's perspective. You came. After climbing the hill, Ari was waiting for me at my wife's grave. This place is near the ocean, a spot Hitomi always loved. The calm sound of the waves helped settle my heart, if only a little. I had come here many times alone, but this was the first time I'd come with someone else. Having Ari and Eiji-kun with me today felt strangely destined. Just a moment ago, we had visited his grave, and now we were here. I had cursed my destiny so many times, wondering if I was simply meant to lose the people dearest to me. And in the end, I would leave my daughter alone in this world. I never imagined I would come to my wife's grave together with Ari. I should have come every year, but I kept running from it. Maybe Hitami is angry with me up in heaven. Eiji-kun was watching from a short distance away. At some point, he had quietly stepped back. He was being considerate. Ari wore a dress in calm, muted colors. Little by little, she was beginning to resemble Hitami. Seeing the young version of my wife reflected in her stirred something in my heart. Of course. She's in high school now. And beyond a father's bias, she really has grown more beautiful. I think that's probably thanks to Eiji-kun. Thinking about it that way fills me with a strange blend of sadness and happiness, tightly knotted together in my chest. It's been a while. I took the bucket Eiji-kun had been carrying and headed toward the water faucet. After filling it, I began to clean the grave. I stayed silent on purpose. I had already done most of the work. Before I knew it, the whole ritual was over. I felt like a prisoner walking up to the gallows. Maybe it would be better if she cut me off completely, right here. I wouldn't be able to bear losing someone else on top of everything. That weak voice inside me was screaming. This is the first time I visited Mother's grave together with you, isn't it? Ari said it softly. I had to fight the urge to cry and managed only a short yeah. I didn't know what else to say. Hitami would probably scold me. I felt pathetic, even to myself. At my reaction, Ari gave a small smile tinged with sadness, but her voice remained kind. I could tell how tense she was. Ari blinks more often when she's nervous, and she was doing it again now. Watching her in that moment, with all those familiar gestures, I felt with certainty that the girl before me was truly my daughter. There's something I want you to hear. Her voice trembled slightly, soft and uncertain, as if reaching out to me. I nodded slowly. Ari continued, nervous but earnest, speaking carefully and with sincerity. So many things happened before I got here. I had no one to rely on. The one who helped me was Aono Eiji-san. If it hadn't been for him, I probably wouldn't even be able to stand here right now. I gave a small nod. That was all I could manage. I'm a weak person. That's why I kept running away. Even after the accident, even as the distance between us grew, I kept avoiding telling you how I really felt. I was so afraid you might reject me completely. I was scared, and I couldn't move forward. Her words tightened around my heart. It's not Ari's fault. I know that. And maybe because I know it so well, I couldn't say a word. I couldn't find anything to say. In the end, all I could do was stay silent. I was afraid that speaking might get in the way of the decision Ari had finally gathered the courage to make. But if I keep doing that, it would be like denying what Mother did that day. I kept struggling with it. Struggling so much I thought my heart might break. I had thought I was prepared for the pain I caused my daughter. But hearing it spoken aloud, I realized just how fragile that resolve really was. I steeled myself to face my daughter, turning fully toward Ari. As our eyes met for the first time in so long, I saw in her both the face of the little girl she once was and the face of my late wife. Ari's eyes were already brimming with tears. I could tell she was just about to cry. Now that I thought about it, Ari had always been someone who cried easily. I'd seen her move to tears so many times, at graduation ceremonies, on her birthday, when her emotions simply spilled over. And yet I hadn't noticed what should have been obvious. Ever since the day of the accident, when she must have been suffering more than anyone, Ari hadn't shed a single tear in front of me. Maybe she had been crying in places I couldn't see. I should have been the one to hold her and carry that sorrow. But I didn't. Most likely, it was Eiji-kun who accepted that burden in my place. Ari seemed to have reached her limit. She took a deep breath and spoke. Please, make me your daughter again. Her voice was steady but full of longing. Big tears fell from her eyes. I had to fight the overwhelming urge to hold her. I can't run anymore. I looked in Hitami's direction and made up my mind to say everything I needed to. Then, I took a step forward. Chapter 247, Daughter and Father. Ari's perspective. I wait for my father in front of my mother's grave. With the broom and bucket I brought, I begin a simple cleaning. As I silently talk to my mother in my heart, I wait for the moment to come. I'm scared. So scared I can't bear it. Talking to my father? Precisely because I know that gentle smile of his, I'm terrified of being rejected. I glance at my mother's grave. Come to think of it, this is the first time I've come here with my father. We made Mom wait all this time. I'm sorry, as I think that the heaviness in my heart that I've carried until now seems to lift. First, I'll tell him how I feel. And then, I realized something important. Even when I came to my mother's grave before, I was always apologizing. I never conveyed what truly mattered. Mom, thank you for protecting me that day. Please watch over me today. You came. My father approaches me. Senpai looks over at me and gives a nod that says, you can do it. From a distance, he watches over me. Thank you. I return his nod with heartfelt gratitude. It's been a while. My father has a bucket in his hand. Just like me, he must have come to clean my mother's grave. It's a small thing, but knowing he felt the same way makes me indescribably happy. And the words my father speaks as we make eye contact for the first time in a while are gentle. This is the first time I visited mother's grave together with you, isn't it? When I said that softly, he gave a small twitch of the head. So he had been thinking about it too. I wasn't able to attend my mother's funeral. Even when coming here, we always came separately. And now, at last, the three of us are finally together. Yeah, his gentle smile makes it seem like his return to being the father I remembered from long ago. Maybe I had forced him to carry everything alone, even the burden of revenge. For just a moment, my resolve wavers. I think I have no right to speak. But it's Senpai, as always, who dispels that thought. Our eyes meet for just a second across the distance. From that gaze, I draw courage. I continue, my voice trembling. I'm a weak person. That's why I kept running away. Even after the accident, even as the distance between us grew, I kept avoiding telling you how I really felt. I was so afraid you might reject me completely. I was scared, and I couldn't move forward. My father looks at me, his expression one of surprise. I go on. But if I keep doing that, it would be like denying what mother did that day. I kept struggling with it. Struggling so much I thought my heart might break. Honestly, if I hadn't met Senpai, I would have shattered. It was pure coincidence. But the fact that two people at rock bottom happened to meet on that rooftop that day, maybe it was a salvation left behind by a cruel god. In the end, I couldn't come up with some grand final words. But now I understand. I just need to say what I want to say. Because we're parent and child. Please, make me your daughter again. The time between us freezes for an instant, then suddenly begins to move rapidly. Tears pool in my father's eyes, and it seems like he can't find the words. He starts to put his arms around me but hesitates, pulling them back. Then, struggling to speak, he finally manages the words. I don't know if I deserve to hear those words. There's something I've been hiding. You say you're weak, Ari, but I'm the weaker one. I only just found the courage to come here and tell you, and I want you to decide whether you'll say those words again after hearing this. As he says this, he looks at me with complete sincerity. I can't recall ever seeing my father's face so twisted in emotion. Even when work was hard, he always seemed composed. I silently nod. My father slowly begins to speak. I have a chronic heart condition. No one knows when it might get worse. For now, I'm managing it with medication. At first, I can't understand what he's saying. My mind rejects the words. He's trembling. Seeing that, I realize I must face this too. I repeat his words over and over in my head. My body won't stop shaking. This is just too cruel. I begin to hate the word fate. Since when? My mouth moves before my mind catches up through the confusion. Right after Hitomi died. I couldn't bring myself to tell you, Ari. You were already in pieces. With those words, everything clicks into place. That's why he pushed me away. In his awkward way, he was trying to protect me. Now, the tears won't stop falling from my eyes. Why does everything awful have to happen to me? Even as I think that, I decide to fight against fate. If I gave up here, I'd be denying everything Senpai and I had walked through together since that day on the rooftop. My father is the one to speak first. I know that keeping it from you and the way I've handled things was terrible. That's why I don't want you to force yourself. I don't deserve to be called your father. I won't let him go any further. Deep in my heart, I reject any more of those words. I don't want to hear them. I declare to him, no matter what hardships lie ahead, I'll face them with you, Father. Because we're family. The tears from my father's eyes no longer stop. But, still, he tries to find the words for my sake. That alone is more than enough. No matter what happens, I'll always be your and mother's daughter. I finally said it, Mom. I whispered those words and embraced my father in front of my mother's grave. Ugaki's perspective. I embrace my daughter tightly for the first time in years. And I remember the moment she was born. That's right, I made a vow back then. I'll protect this small, angelic child forever. Chapter 248, Ri and Eiji. The two of them held each other in a long, quiet embrace. Although I couldn't catch all the words, I could feel their joy at having made up. Thank you, Dad. It worked out because of you. I pictured my father's face, the one who would have been happiest to see this, and tears blurred my vision. It was a truly quiet moment. Sunlight filtering through the trees seemed to wrap around them. It felt as though another member of our family, one who shouldn't be here, was gazing down at them from the ceiling. There was something sacred in that. They slowly let go of each other's hands, exchanged a few words, and only Uncle Ugaki walked over to me. Eiji-kun, I'll go wait in the car. I'm ashamed to ask this, but I'm leaving Ri in your hands. There are things she might not be able to say in front of me. Hearing that, I nodded with equal seriousness. Understood. With a face on the verge of tears, Uncle simply said, I'm counting on you, and turned back toward the car. I walked over to her. Ari-san was smiling, looking truly happy, even as tears welled in her eyes. Thank you. I never thought things would really be resolved like this. You've saved me again, senpai. She spoke as if the weight had drained from her. She looked incredibly beautiful. It's not like I did anything. I just created the space. You were the one who found the courage to speak, so the reconciliation happened because of you. Before I could finish, she shook her head. Even so. It's because you were there that I could change. It's because you, senpai, were there that I found the courage. Gently, she wrapped her arms around my back and embraced me. For a moment I was surprised, then I returned the gesture and held her close. Her delicate body must have been bearing so much pressure. I couldn't help but hold her more firmly. Please, don't let go. Yeah, you'll stay with me, right? Always? Of course. I promised, didn't I? She nodded, resting her head against my chest, looking truly happy. Thank you. That day, on the rooftop, for finding me. For stopping me when I wanted to die. And for staying with me ever since. I don't think I could have made it alone. I've lived all this time thinking only about the family I lost that day. You gave it all back to me. She tightened her arms around me, and then she continued. It's strange. I never thought I'd have room to think about love or anything like that. But now, I'm hopelessly in love with you. And yet, I still haven't said it properly. So, please let me say it now. She looked straight at me. Her eyes were brimming with large, glistening tears. That day, on the rooftop. I'm glad I didn't die. I'm so glad I met you. Hearing that, it finally felt like our new life had begun. Me too. I think if I hadn't met Ari-san, I would have fallen apart. She nodded over and over again. Fate really is cruel, isn't it? Just when I finally made peace with my father. But even so, as long as I'm with you, I can keep moving forward. So please, stay with me. Always. Forever. Senpai, the girl who once gave in to that cruel fate had now chosen to move forward with strength. If I'm with her, I can go anywhere. Maybe, just maybe, we can even make a miracle happen. Yeah. I promise. We held each other tightly, reaffirming that promise again and again. Chapter 249, The Road That Leads to Happiness. We return to the car. The slope is unstable. I offer her my hand. Thank you. She accepts my escort without hesitation. We descend the slope slowly and in silence. The trees are vividly colored. I didn't know this place was so beautiful. She murmurs softly. Yeah, she must have been so worn down that she couldn't even recognize the beauty of this place. Thinking that her beloved family had fallen apart because her mother sacrificed herself to save her, she probably couldn't forgive herself. I never asked why she went to the rooftop. I'd heard it was to end her life, and although I had a vague sense that it was connected to her family situation, she must have been doing everything she could to hold herself together. I didn't need anyone to tell me that. Knowing Ari-san's personality, she must have endured it all, wondering if she could somehow forgive herself, if her father might accept her, and if they could become a family again. I think she was hurting the entire time. When I imagine what kind of heavy burden she must have been carrying on that slender body, it hurts me too. Ari-san must have lost so many things because of what happened in that incident. And that is exactly why. Today is the beginning. I wonder if I even have the right to say those words. After I say it, I feel a little afraid. When I glance at Ari-san, she is smiling gently. You're right, senpai. But for some reason, I'm not afraid of what lies ahead. Hearing that, I remember something Ari-san once told me. That day on the rooftop, you risked your life to help a complete stranger, getting soaked in the rain. You were ready to throw your life away. Trying to stop someone like that in a place like that, you could have fallen too. I think you lost a lot because of this, senpai. I know it's not really my place to say that. But it wasn't everything. There are people who still believe in you. I wanted you to know that. I think it was when she arranged the reconciliation with Hayashi-san. Bathed in the setting sun that day, she was so beautiful it left me speechless. And our relationship changed. Back then, I was the one being protected. But now, it's different. We've both become capable of protecting each other. Ari-san's expression has become even gentler than usual. Then she murmurs, "Because I'm with you, senpai." That alone is more than enough to make me happy. Hearing that makes me blush. I'll make her even happier from now on. I renew that resolve in my heart. In return, I squeeze her hand just a little more tightly. Let's go home. To where everyone is. Yeah. As we savor the joy of knowing Uncle Ugaki is among them, we take one step at a time along the road that leads to happiness. Chapter 250, Miyuki's Reality and Welcome Home. Miyuki's Perspective. I'm afraid to move forward. That's why I've been standing still all this time. Shut away in my room, doing nothing, just trembling day after day. Only time passes, slowly, gently. Evening. My phone rang. It was Ritsu. I couldn't ignore it, but my arms wouldn't move. The call ended. I felt a small sense of relief. If it had been a call from my best friend, I would have picked up immediately, but now, I couldn't even do that. The phone rang again. It was Ritsu. Hello, this is Amada. Bracing myself, I answered the call. Ritsu spoke without even a greeting. Her voice was colder than anything I had ever heard. You finally picked up. There wasn't a trace of life in her voice. Ritsu, I called her name, clinging to a fragile hope. At the very least, I wanted her to understand. But that small hope was quickly crushed. Don't call my name like we're still close. It's all your fault, Miyuki. Getting expelled and everything else happened because of you, she shouted with a rage I had never heard before, not even giving me a chance to say anything. I tried to squeeze out an apology, desperate to say something, but her furious voice drowned me out before I could finish. Why? Why did you lie to me? I thought we were best friends. I thought you needed help, Miyuki, so I. It's all your fault. If I had never become friends with you, I wouldn't have gotten dragged into this. Give it back. Give it all back. My life is a mess because of you. Something shattered on the other end of the line. Ritsu had changed. And it was all because of me. I'm sorry. You really think apologizing will fix this? Because of you, I'm a criminal. I thought we were best friends. Why did you deceive me? What were you trying to do? I kept crying, repeating I'm sorry's again and again. But Ritsu never forgave me. Goodbye. I truly believed we would be best friends forever, but I never want to see you or speak to you again. Her final words, spoken in a cold and empty voice, pierced straight through my heart. I was finally made to understand just how unforgivable my actions were, and how many lives I had ruined. There is no way I can ever be forgiven, and that is why I must accept my punishment. Ritsu's words forced me to face that painful truth. Ugaki Ari's perspective. I dropped senpai off at kitchen Aono, then returned to my room with my father. We probably should have gone back to our home in Tokyo, but with everything happening right now, we wouldn't have been able to talk properly. So I asked my father to come to my room instead. This is the first time I've ever invited him here. It feels strangely surreal. I unlocked the door and stepped in first. This was something I wasn't willing to give up. Maybe, deep down, I had always been dreaming of this moment. Welcome home, Dad. My father looked slightly surprised when he heard me say it, but his expression quickly softened. I'm home. Sorry it took me so long. Chapter 251, Life Reversal, Reprint Commemoration SS Tanabata. TL, this really should have been part of the special stories short stories. No idea why the author made it Chapter 251, but I'm just following along. Author, warning. This contains spoilers for the latest web version chapter. Thanks to all of your support, a reprint for Volume 2 has been decided, and Volume 3 is now in production. Truly, thank you very much. I want to go on a Tanabata date. That's what Ari-san said. It is, after all, a romantic event, so thinking it would be nice to go somewhere special for once. The two of us took a train after school and came to Tokyo Tower, the symbol of the capital. At a nearby costume rental shop she had arranged, we rented yukata. Ari-san chose a yukata with a white base, accented by hydrangea patterns. I picked this one because I really enjoyed our hydrangea date the other day. Seeing her blush like that made me want to keep watching her forever. With her hair gathered at the back and a blue hair ornament to match her yukata, Ari-san looked so pure, I felt like I could be drawn into her. Then, just as the sun set, we made our way to the main deck. There, an enchanting world spread out before us. The view of the high-rise buildings of Marunouchi at night, paired with the blue illumination beautifully decorating the ceiling. From time to time, a shooting star would streak across the space, and as time passed, the color of the lights would shift as well. It's like a fairy tale world. Smiling joyfully, she gripped my hand tightly. These days, whenever we go somewhere together, it feels completely natural to hold hands. That made me happy, and a little embarrassed too, as I followed after her. It's so beautiful. Ari-san had started smiling a lot more. I could tell she was truly enjoying herself from the bottom of her heart. It really feels like another world, a world where the city and fairy tales had merged. I felt grateful to be able to come to a place like this. Since we're here, let's write wishes on the Tanzako too. At the station set up for it, the two of us wrote with pens in hand. We wrote the same wish and laughed together. If we keep this up, even Orihime and Hikaboshi will get jealous. Ari-san laughed blissfully. We'll have to make sure we don't end up like them. We tied our Tanzaku to the bamboo branches and gazed lovingly into each other's eyes. May this happiness last forever. That's what was written on both of our Tanzaku. Chapter 252, Kondo's Despair. Kondo's Perspective. Today is my meeting with that lawyer. In the end, I'm still being held in custody. Apparently, because of the connection to my father's case, my detention has been prolonged. On top of that, since I've been aiming for all-out war with the police and prosecutors from the start, it has probably made things worse. Hey there, Kondo-kun. That lawyer was smiling, just like always. When am I going to get out of here? At least let me out soon. I could tell my voice had grown weak from the mental exhaustion. Well, I've got some unfortunate news. You'll need to brace yourself a little. What the hell do you mean by that? I shouted in a fit of rage. First of all, your father's company has completely gone under. Not only was there slush money for illegal savings and bribes, but of course, they hadn't been paying taxes either. Most of the assets have been provisionally seized. Looks like the court made that decision too. What does that even mean? Say it more clearly. In other words, your father's company committed crimes to hide money for political bribes, which led to most of the assets being seized. My fee is being paid by your mother. So the money that belonged to your father and his company, the same money you used to live in luxury, has now been almost entirely taken away. We can get it back though, right? I asked in a voice filled with despair. But what came back was a cold response. Of course not. How many times do I have to explain that to you? Then, what's going to happen to me? There's another problem. You've made the police and prosecutors angrier than necessary. So your detention will probably drag on. Even if you're released temporarily on bail before the trial, in cases of assault or battery, bail usually runs in the millions of yen. And your mother said she won't pay it. I suppose she's understandably anxious about the future. My jaw dropped in shock and I couldn't close my mouth. So I've been abandoned by my mother too. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. On the verge of tears, I felt like everything was going black. At this rate, I might not even be able to get out of here. And there's one more report. This might not be something you care to hear, but you know Aono Eiji, the victim of your assault? It looks like he's become a nominee for a prestigious literary award. Saying that, the lawyer spread out a clipped newspaper article. Apparently, he uploaded a novel to an online submission site, with a girl who was a victim in the tunnel collapse accident your father was involved in as the protagonist. It caused a huge stir and got picked up for publication. Now it's in the running for a literary prize. Pretty amazing. It's the first time a web novel has ever been nominated for this award, and at 17, he's also the youngest nominee in its history. My soccer never even stood out at the university level, let alone going pro, and yet his novel is already being recognized by professionals. That cruel contrast stirred up feelings of jealousy, cutting deep into my sense of self-worth. Why would you even show me something like this? Don't you get it? With your assault victim gaining this kind of attention, your case will soon come under public scrutiny too. When that happens, Aono Eiji will receive a flood of sympathy, and your position will become even worse. That's why I'm telling you to be a little prepared. The person I used to look down on, Aono Eiji, had turned the tables. With each blow, my pride crumbled further. Maybe I really am finished. I finally broke down in front of that annoying lawyer and started crying. Even though I tried to hold back the tears, they just wouldn't stop. Chapter 253, Life Reversal 2, Reprint Commemoration SS Travel, in honor of Ekiben Day, July 16th. As we were walking home together like always, I noticed a banner near the supermarket. It was the same supermarket I'd gone to with Akijo-san the other day to buy tea. Ekiben Fair. Oh, an Ekiben Fair, huh? They hold these at supermarkets every now and then. My mother likes them, so maybe I'll head home first, then come back to buy one. As I was thinking that, I noticed Akijo-san beside me staring intently at the word Ekiben. Do you like Ekiben? I asked without much thought, and Akijo-san hurriedly denied it. Don't make me sound like a glutton or something, senpai. I kind of feel like she actually is a glutton, but I kept quiet on purpose. Sorry. I like hearty meat-based ones. You know, like those beef bowl-style ones. The seafood kinds are great too. What about you, Akijo-san? I haven't really eaten many, actually. I saw some on TV, though, and thought the ones with seasoned rice looked really good. Then how about we drop by, since we're here? I'm fine. I'll save it for later. Save it? What do you mean? It's a secret. Saying that, she stepped a little ahead of me, her long hair fluttering in the wind as she smiled with a gentle, airy expression. Her well-cared-for hair danced beautifully in the air, as silky as thread. Come on, let's go. She smiled at me, just a bit like she was trying to hide her embarrassment. Ikijo-Ari's perspective. Hiding my embarrassment, I turned to look at senpai and smiled. There's no way I could tell him that I've always dreamed of the two of us going on a trip together someday. I was supposed to have been in despair about the future until recently, yet I found myself laughing at how naturally I'd started assuming we'd be together from now on too.